Guys, lads, people, however you identify, we've got a bonus show for you right here, right now. Very short intro. I'm not going to waffle too long here. This is basically a clip show because 2024 is the first kind of full year of podcasting that we've done. And we thought it'd be a good idea to kind of isolate what we think are the best clips and put them in one episode so you can listen. If there's been an episode that you've avoided because you haven't seen the movie yet, fear not. There are no spoilers in this episode. It's just various clips of nonsense. And that's all I'm here to tell you. So open a can of tea, boil a kettle, have a kettle of beer, put your feet up, do a thing, don't do a thing, have a listen, chill out, and enjoy.
So, 1974, directed by Bob Clark.
He had a movie out the same year that this came out called Dead of Night.
Yeah, which I haven't seen, sadly. He's most well known for Black Christmas and A Christmas Story, which are such different movies.
Yeah, I don't think I've seen A Christmas Story, but I'm familiar with the kid.
Yes, the child.
The child.
Yeah, he's not a child anymore. He's a grown man.
No, I know
believe it
how
or not.
time works. He directed Porky's.
He did, yeah. Very, very bizarre resume this man had.
Yeah.
From a really kind of dark, quite bleak proto-slasher to a raucous sex comedy.
And Karate Dog.
Karate Dog. I'm not familiar with Karate Dog. Please,
what? You've never seen Karate Dog?
Regale me with the synopsis for Karate Dog.
Everybody's seen Karate Dog.
Do you know what? I am quite a big fan of dogs doing human things movies.
Yeah, there was that basketball one.
Air Bud.
Yeah.
There's about 12 of them.
Margot Kidder.
Yes,
is also
iconic.
in this movie as Barb.
Barb's the best.
Barb is the best. Barb is my favourite character.
No nonsense.
Easily. She's great.
Foul-mouthed, hard drinking. We love Barb.
We love Barb. Yeah. First time I was aware of Margot Kidder would have been the Superman movies.
Oh, I bet. Yeah.
She was also in the Amityville Horror, which we recently watched.
I love that movie.
It's a good movie. Yeah. And she was great in that as well. But outside of those things, I've got Sisters, a Brian De Palma movie, which I hadn't heard of, actually.
Seriously?
Yeah.
Oh, that was remade. Wasn't very good.
It wasn't remade with Amy Poehler and...
No, you're thinking of something completely different. Tina Fey. No, not that one.
That was called Sisters, wasn't it?
You are mistaken,
You've got to clarify these things.
198 dicks. When some films get notorious, like Wolf of Wall Street apparently says the word fuck more than 500 times. This has to hold some sort of record, right? Outside of
most
porn.
amount of penises.
Yeah.
It must do. Yeah.
Most old man dong in any film ever.
And I respect it for that, but it's not something...
But only for that.
But it's not like, it's not ever a yardstick.
There are only 176 old man dicks in this one. It's not good enough.
This loses a star because there's not enough man dicks in it. This is the worst film that we've watched for this podcast.
We've watched Police Academy 7.
Listen, I forgot that we did Police Academy 7.
This is head and shoulders above Mission to Moscow.
Although there's more men spitting eggs into other men's mouths in that than there is in this.
I can't disagree with that.
And that is my yardstick for comedy.
Right. There's a little bit of whimsy. There's a bit of sort of action adventure about it. There is a bit of comedy as well.
In the first act, I got Attack the Block vibes. In the second act, I got Home Alone vibes.
Okay.
And in the third act, I got Eurotrash vibes.
Eurotrash?
Yeah.
Just from all the penises?
Yeah.
That's horrifying. I don't want to make that connection. I actually like this film.
But those things, they didn't entirely work for me, sort of being merged together. And I'm really having a hard time categorizing this. You're talking about like the horror stuff. It's not scary. It's not like a horrifying time.
I've heard the criticism that you've just come out with. There are a number of people who...
What is it?
Well, yeah. There are a number of people who don't necessarily like one half, but the other half of the film really works for them and vice versa. Do you know what did surprise me? Roger Ebert liked this film.
Do you know why?
Why?
Because it's not a horror movie.
Oh, no. You can't win with that. No.
I'm going to drop this mic. If it wasn't attached to a boom arm, I'd drop this mic. Just going back to another scene, if I may, at the restaurant, it's after they have their discussion in the car.
Yeah.
And she shows him a picture of her biological father.
Was it a picture of Richard Speck?
It was a picture of Richard Speck.
Yeah.
I knew you'd know this. During the casting process, Matthew Bright had a picture of Richard Speck. He gave,
As you do.
As you do. He just had it in his back pocket. It's like top trumps, but murderers.
I've got Edmund Kemper in my back pocket.
Have you?
Yeah.
I think I've got a Bundy in my sock. Yeah, he had a picture of Richard Speck. He gave that to the casting agent and said, find me someone that looks a bit like this. And they're bringing in pictures of people, and he's sort of saying, no, and that they don't look ugly enough. They've not got enough craters in their face. And no one quite fit what he was looking for. So he's like, fuck it, let's just use this picture.
Okay.
Let's use this picture. And it cost $250.
Who owns the rights to pictures of serial killers?
I wondered who gets that money. Has he got an agent? Was he alive then? I don't know.
This is a can of worms. This is going to be my Google rabbit hole tonight.
It's a really undignified death,
Yeah.
but also realistic.
Yeah, most deaths are undignified, aren't they?
My biggest fear is I'm going to choke on a pine nut. And I think
That's your biggest fear.
when I'm choking on that pine nut, I'm going to be thinking, you did this, you idiot.
Your biggest fear. I'm sorry, I'm stuck on this.
What?
Is a choking on a pine nut.
Yeah. What sort of nut would you prefer I choked on?
We see the young woman go back to the shack. She lights a fire.
I thought you was going to say she likes a fart. I don't know what. My brain was going there.
That's not the cut of this film I saw.
And like you with the pine nut, I'm now stuck on that thought. But yeah, she very slowly...
She illuminates the corner of the shack by lighting a fart.
Oh, it's in the Freddy Got Fingered universe. Candyman 2021. I'm looking around just to make sure there's no reflections anywhere, because I'm definitely going to be saying that. I only need to say it another 4 times, don't I?
Oh, we're definitely going to say that more than 5 times.
There's a mirror up there. And oh my God, the mirror that I'm looking into is reflecting a skull. Oh no, this is not a good sign. This is not a good sign.
This is the best sign.
Okay, well, I can't say it anymore. You're going to have to say it because I've got a mirror right there.
I'll say it then. Candyman.
Okay, well, don't be too liberal with it. You never know. So Candyman 2021, not the original, 1992, not the sequel from 1995.
Or the sequel from 1999.
What are they called? Farewell to the Flesh and...
Day of the Dead?
Yeah, we're doing a 2021 version, which is a very recent movie.
A very divisive movie.
Is it?
Yes.
Okay, we'll get into that then, because that sounds super interesting, something I want to put a pin in.
Yeah, I mention Clive Barker a lot.
You do mention Clive Barker a lot. I'm actually wearing one of your hand-me-down T-shirts.
Oh, yeah, you've got my Hellraiser one on.
Your Hellraiser one on. I'm trying to get into the Cliveness of it.
Yeah, beneficial that we're the same size in T-shirts.
Yeah. Well, yeah. So for me, it's Hellraiser, mostly what I know Clive Barker from. Obviously, I don't even know if I knew that he wrote the original short story for this until... God, years and years later.
Okay.
I have seen Lord of Illusions, which I probably like more than most, I would say.
It's fun.
Enjoy that movie. Oh, I'm forgetting Nightbreed.
How can you forget Nightbreed? That is also in my top 10 of all time.
Yeah, so you're a Clive head.
Is that what?
You're a big Barker face. I thought the soundtrack was very horrifying-inducing, if that's a term that I care to coin right now on this podcast.
You heard it here first, and you'll never hear it again.
I don't think I could repeat
No, exactly. Unrepeatable.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's funny. While we were watching it, obviously we kind of teased this show when we covered The Witch, because there are quite a few through lines in terms of cast, look and feel of the movie, the fact that they're both A24. But also, I hadn't really paid much attention to the fact that the soundtracks have a lot in common.
Yes. Mark Corvin did the score for The Witch, and Daniel Hart did the score for The Green Knight.
Okay.
But I don't know if you've heard anything about the instrument that was used on The Green Knight.
I don't know a thing.
I'll burn through this because I'm sure it's been talked about ad nauseum, but ad nauseum?
Ad nauseum.
Ad nauseum. But there's this instrument called an apprehension engine, which is the most bizarre sounding name for an instrument.
That sounds like a code name I would give to my crippling anxiety. Not an instrument.
Yeah, it's not very catchy though, is it?
No.
You've got to address it constantly.
It's a bit of a mouthful.
It is a bit of a mouthful. But what's interesting about the apprehension engine is that it was commissioned by a guy who I mentioned earlier, called Mark Corvin, and he asked someone to build it for him, a guitar maker called Tony Duggan Smith. And that was actually for the score of The Witch.
Oh, nice work, Tone.
Yeah. So they invented an instrument, and I've looked at this thing on YouTube, and it's the strangest machine that you can, like, there's a crank wheel thing.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And you remember when you used to do woodwork at school, and you've got the metal rulers?
Vaguely. It's been a while.
And then you point them off the edge, and you do a little boing.
Yeah.
You can put a little rubber on it or something.
Yes.
Put a little rubber across the classroom. They've got metal rulers on this desk, basically. And it's this weird thing, but it was, created for The Witch, and Daniel Hart used that instrument also for this movie. And last I heard, there's about 12 of them now.
12 of the instruments that have been made?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Which,
okay.
It blows my mind that you can invent an instrument in 2015. I think it's great. I think it's a wonderful instrument, and the noises that it creates are really, like, as we said earlier, atmospheric, and just creates...
it makes complete sense now that you've pointed out that it was created so recently and used in both films, but it's so unique.
It's unique. It's like a thick fog of grim fog.
A grim fog of noise.
A grim fog of noise, yeah, that's it. We've nailed that. I don't love found footage movies in general.
That was going to be my next question. Are there any that you actually enjoy, or is it just the subgenre as a whole that you don't really care for?
I think it's the subgenre as a whole. I think it depends on the project. For the Blair Witch in particular, the characters were kind of interesting, but it was very surface at the same time, and I feel like there wasn't much to do with characters. You know, they didn't really go on an arc and a journey. Obviously, Heather does kind of recognise that she was a bit naive and got them into trouble at the end, but I wouldn't really call that a character arc. I do prefer to have something a bit deeper to dig into, or I want it to be really entertaining, and it didn't fit either of those for me. But in terms...
I was going to say, I disagree to some extent. I think from my perspective, I found the interactions to be really compelling in a sort of, I don't know, like a Stanford Prison Experiment way, because it felt quite real. These three people are in this scenario that so few people would ever find themselves in. Look at how they're reacting. Look at how they're infighting and kind of devolving. Like, that to me was really interesting. What about you, Jamie? Do you think much of the found footage subgenre as a whole? Do you get much out of it?
I think if I was to give you an answer, it would be that I don't like found footage movies, but I don't like to just
generalize,
disregard a whole genre or a whole style of film.
Mm-hmm.
Because like there's a bunch that I like. I really like As Above, So Below.
Ugh.
I like that. Sarah hates it. Is that found footage?
Why do you hate it?
I don't know. It's just, it's not for me.
Found footage, horror, Indiana Jones. What's not to like?
Yeah,
agree to disagree.
I really like Grave Encounters.
Yeah, that's not bad.
I'm remembering Session 9 as found footage, but I might be making that up.
Is that the asbestos removal company?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's good.
The Borderlands is one I always reference.
Yeah, big fan of the Borderlands.
Yeah.
I think we're going to be covering that in the next couple of months. I really want Sam to watch it.
Okay.
Nice.
Look forward to that.
Yeah, you showed me that a couple of years ago, Sarah, and I really liked that one. There are a couple of exceptions. The Borderlands, which I completely forgot about until just now. I really love Chronicle, but I think for me, the found footage movies that I tend to enjoy, I think probably didn't need to be found footage movies. They could have been shot in a more conventional way. As an entry point, I find it quite difficult to grasp, quite difficult to latch onto, because as I said, I just feel like I'm watching a home movie. I feel like my weird cousin has sat me down and said, watch my holiday video where I went on a ghost walk and there was spooky things that were happening. It's like, no.
Is your weird cousin TJ Miller, and he went to New York that one time and his girlfriend's head exploded?
No, we don't claim TJ Miller. He's an odd one.
Yeah, he's a baddie, isn't he?
Yeah, apparently.
Oh, it's always the really fucking annoying ones, isn't it?
It's always the ones you expect.
So obviously you're doing a folklore theme at the moment. And I think that the folklore that exists around the Blair Witch, which obviously they've expanded on over subsequent movies and like the other stuff that they did, I think it's really rich and like quite well realized and really true to real folklore and real sort of local legends that people tell about the places that they live.
Yeah, agreed. They obviously kind of went the extra mile to make this whole thing quite, not necessarily realistic, but yeah, to make it rich in detail and to make it feel kind of lived in. Have you seen Adam Wingard's Blair Witch?
Is that the third one?
I believe so. Are there's 3, right?
Yeah.
There's only 3. Yeah. So the 2016 one, I believe.
I have watched it, but I couldn't tell you a single fucking thing about it.
The one good thing that came out of that being released was I went to see that at the cinema, and because it was back in the zeitgeist, some like film society at the local university did a screening of the Blair Witch Project, but they set up a projector in the woods.
Nice.
And they had a couple of kids from like the amateur dramatics course or whatever kind of leading you through, and they'd put big stick figures up in the trees, and like they sort of did a 5-minute walk to get to the seats and the projector, and that was chef kiss. It was so good. If you're going to watch the Blair Witch Project, watch it in the woods.
That's a really interesting way. I would be up for that. If they put that on again, I would definitely want to go to that. I do think these experiences do add to watching a movie as well. I heard about them showing Jaws in Chelmsford once in a river and you were on like a little dinghy thing.
Okay.
That sounded quite interesting.
I'm too scared of like flotation devices.
It's a very
not sharks.
It's a very specific fear, Jamie.
When I was a
not
kid,
sharks, just dinghies.
When I was a kid, I was in Barmouth in North Wales, and I was on a lilo, and it just drifted a little bit too far out, and I sort of looked back, and the people on the shore were like little specks, little dots.
Oh no.
And I was like, oh shit, I've gone quite far out. And I looked around me and I was just surrounded by thousands of jellyfish.
Holy shit.
And it was just the scariest thing that has ever happened to, I think, anybody.
Objectively, yes. Yeah.
How did you get out of that? I assuming you did.
I just sort of...
You're not a ghost.
Maybe you didn't, and this is all a dream.
Yeah. This is Jacob's ladder.
You're still there dissociating.
Yeah. This is Jamie's lilo. I just sort of paddled like mad, just kicked my feet and hoped for the best.
Closed your eyes and thought of home.
Yeah.
That's scary.
Very scary.
So you won't go near any inflatable objects?
I mean, I'll go at a bouncy castle.
Oh,
if the bouncy castle is on water.
So it's the combination.
Yeah.
Right.
I wouldn't call the bouncy castle a flotation device.
But it could be.
It could be.
No, it couldn't, because you have to carry around the pump thing that you have to plug in, so it would sink.
But if it's already inflated.
Yeah, isn't there an episode of Bob's Burgers where they tape it up and put it on the lake?
Yeah.
This is a question that's important that I ask, and is
it
very
relevant?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Is a hot air balloon a flotation device?
Ooh. Or I don't know. What's a dirigible? Is it classed as a dirigible? I genuinely don't know.
It's just in its own class, isn't it? Hot air balloon. Because I hear what you're saying. It's floating.
But you need the hot air to power it.
Yeah, is it not a similar principle to the bouncy castle? If you seal it up, I mean, you're not flying anymore, but you'll float.
To me, like, flotation device is passive. Once it's blown up and sealed, it's good to go. Whereas the hot air balloon has an opening at all times and requires the hot air.
Yeah. Well, these are all important questions that we're asking.
That have fuck all to do with the Blair Witch Project.
So we've obviously got... This is our second Patrick Stewart movie.
Oh, yeah, Life Force.
Yeah.
Yeah. I preferred his role in Life Force. I'm joking. Look, Patrick Stewart is always a joy to watch. I don't think I've ever seen him in a film and gone, oh, this guy.
No.
And he's fucking heartbreaking in this, man.
I would say, for me, this is maybe the peak.
Yeah.
Patrick Stewart. I think he's fantastic in this.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, I'm not going to go through and list his credits because
we'd be here all day.
Yeah, and half of them will just be Shakespeare adaptations. But mostly, obviously, it's Star Trek, X-Men for me, Green Room.
Captain Jean-Luc Picard of the USS Enterprise. Thanks, that's going to be my earworm for the rest of the day now. So interestingly, I did read somewhere that Jeremy Renner was not first choice.
He was first choice.
Oh.
But he was doing Arrival. This is what I heard from Taylor Sheridan.
Okay.
But as the time went on, Arrival finished and then he became available. But between those two things, he was considering Chris Pine. Chris Pine. Pine? Prime directives. something.
Yeah, Chris Pine.
Is that what you heard Chris Pine, did you?
I heard that he was first choice, yeah.
Right.
And then there were scheduling conflicts and Renner came on after that.
Maybe Chris Pine was first choice, but when Jeremy Renner came on board, he just went,
the story swiftly changed.
I wanted you before I wanted Pine, don't worry.
How do you feel about that?
About
how do you think
lying to Jeremy Renner about wanting him first?
Yeah. Do you think it's morally correct?
I don't agree with lying in general, but if it's to Jeremy Renner, I think you could lie. You could just lie and say, I've got this really good app. If you don't mind signing up for that, Jeremy Renner, you'll win a star.
She figures out a ton of stuff while they're just sat scratching their heads.
Yeah. Taking her trousers off feels like a studio note, doesn't it?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Oh, she's going to be fully clothed the whole time. We've promised them a blonde with world-class breasts. Yeah. We can't tease that and then have no partial nudity.
I feel like the essence of this film is probably quite well-intentioned, but there's a couple of things that feel like studio notes that are peppered in there to go, no, that's not necessary, is it?
I agree, but they don't annoy me to the degree where it tampers with my enjoyment of the film.
Yeah, it's not a huge problem. I would also say there's one other character in this who is maybe the most important character in this entire franchise. She's not in any other movies, though.
Which one?
Heather.
Oh, Heather, yeah, Heather Gummer.
Because she saves Bert.
Yeah, that's true. Oh.
Bert gets bitten by a mouth snake and, and she shoots it off with a shotgun.
Yeah.
So Bert Gummer dies then. We've got no other Tremor sequels. It's dead.
I don't like that.
No.
Universe.
No, but that's what I mean. Like she saved Bert there. She's always telling him what guns to use and what ammo to take and what the strategy that they should be using. So I think she's actually the most important character in this franchise.
Okay.
So yeah, I think the female characters are actually treated with quite high regard actually.
Yeah. I agree.
Which is refreshing and I guess is why it feels a bit more if this came out today, people going, it's fucking woke, isn't it? It's way too woke. Why are you making
agenda?
Why are you making the females characters?
Why have they got personality traits beyond tits?
And where is this world-class breast that you promised me?
Just the one.
Yeah. No, 3. No Total Recall.
Oh, what a crossover.
What, Tremors and Total Recall?
Yeah.
Maybe the Tremors are from Mars. Maybe they're mutants.
Okay. A Paul Verhoeven directed Tremors movie.
Oh, come on. Oh. When you said that, I thought you was going to say a Paul Verhoeven directed Dune movie.
No.
Which also would be good. What do you mean no? The other Worms movie.
The other Sandworms.
I love Denis Villeneuve. I think he's great, but it would have been nice to get a Verhoeven Dune in the 90s.
It would have been so different. So different.
It would have either been the best film ever made or the fucking worst film ever made.
Or it would have been another Showgirls and people only start to appreciate it in 25 years' time.
Yeah. But
who knows?
It would have been something.
Yeah.
I mean, Juliette Lewis is a Scientologist, so
I wonder if she was kind of born into it. I don't want to go on. It's not a Scientology podcast, but I was thinking about that because obviously her father is in this movie, Jeffrey Lewis. And
he's the most relatable character in this film as well. I would also rather shoot myself in the head than answer a phone call.
Yeah.
That was his introduction, wasn't it?
Yeah,
I liked that. I thought that was fun.
He wasn't in it enough, actually. That's one of my complaints. I would have liked to see more of his character.
I was really pleased. I'd forgotten that he was in it, and I was very pleased to see him pop up because about a week prior to that, I'd watched Double Impact, and he's really good in that.
And he was in Double Impact.
Uncle Frankie.
I haven't seen that film for years.
It's not great. But it's great if you know what I mean. But yeah, his introduction I really enjoyed because he's got the 6 guns laid out on the table, and he for some reason puts them all in a pillowcase.
Yeah,
like he's trying to.
It's like a raffle.
Yeah,
jumbling them up.
It's which one's loaded, but I really like the way that he doesn't want to answer the phone and he puts one hand over his ear just as he's trying to take himself out. And then what I thought was interesting as well is that James Caan is calling him, but he's the last person on his list.
Yeah.
He's scratched out 4 other names, I think, above him, and he's the last one. And just a really interesting way to introduce character. But yeah, I agreed. He's not in it enough. I would like to have seen more of him and maybe less of some other stuff.
Yeah. Yeah, I think all the stuff with the old people is good.
Yeah, James Caan is amazing.
Every time he's on screen, I'm just like,
Yeah.
why don't I watch more James Caan stuff all the time?
Yeah.
Steals the show.
We talked about him in our Thief episode, obviously, quite a lot. Love that movie, and he's brilliant in it.
Mm-hmm.
He has one of my favourite lines in this, actually, where it's something like, if you see an old man and he's survived, you know he's a survivor, or something like that.
I wrote that down. Yeah.
Did you?
Yeah.
It's one of my favourite lines.
Line.
Yeah, there's some really smart pieces of dialogue in this, and I think if you get James Caan to deliver smart dialogue, you just can't go wrong.
Yeah, apparently he had tactical gun training for Thief that he reused for this film as well.
Right.
Yeah, no, I can imagine. Yeah, no,
hopefully they
cool.
invoiced the Thief production company then.
Michael Mann footed the bill.
Yeah. He can afford it.
That's one thing I really did enjoy. I know I talked about this sort of earlier on as well, but I read somewhere that Christopher McQuarrie's, I think, brother was in the military. And so all of the tactical stuff, the gun stuff was sort of as accurate as it possibly could be. And with the exception of the shootout at the end, all of the reloading was pretty accurate. And I don't know, I think that's, for a film like this, I think that's really impressive to go to those sorts of pains. Like for a film that's effectively a fuck you to Hollywood. Yeah. I really admire that.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a good point though, that because in that last shootout, it happens all the way through, but particularly in that last shootout, you notice how often Benicio del Toro has to reload. Yeah. Like, because he's emptying his I don't really know gun speak, his clip or whatever. Like it's sort of, and every time, every sort of few seconds, he's got to stop and reload, which eventually is what kind of lets him down. Yeah, I think that's really, it doesn't happen enough. I mean, I can't think of another action film where where that even becomes a factor. Most of the time, you just accept that the guns are the limited ammo.
Yeah. Well, considering like our first show was on Hard Boiled, and like John Woo really does say F you to any sort of realism in terms of that. Yeah. But I don't know, for a neo-Western, it makes so much more sense to have it be a bit more grounded, even in a film as ludicrous as this.
I think it's interesting that this film was created as a Mad Max ripoff. Like, they were quite honest about it. I wasn't the hugest fan of Mad Max, the original. And so, okay. Do I have to leave the podcast now? But then, so when Fury Road was advertised, I was kind of like, I was fairly indifferent. And I saw the trailer and I was like, what is this? I was just immediately, and that was an amazing thing that, like people like the last film George Miller had done was like Happy Feet 2 or something, and people were talking about, and they'd recast, but Fury Road is definitely one of my favorite action films. It just made a beautiful film. But I feel like Fury Road, I don't think Fury Road has taken anything from this. But there's such an interesting parallel between the way that he rules over the smokers and the way that something Joe, what's the name of the main villain?
Immortan Joe?
Immortan Joe rules over his war boys in Fury Road. I would say that there's, except that I think the opposite is, obviously in Fury Road, not enough water. Waterworld, too much water.
Yeah, and except in Fury Road, Immortan Joe's promising them water, but in Waterworld, he's promising them cigarettes
and land.
Dry land.
Yeah.
The cigarette thing is great. It's so blatant. It's almost as blatant as like the whole death sticks thing in the Star Wars prequels, but it's just kind of like they're just sort of tossing cigarettes out. Everybody's smoking. The entire ship must have smelled like Doc Cotton's front room or something like that.
The thing that blows my mind, right, is that there's several times in this movie they refer to paper as this really rare valuable thing. And my favourite character even talks about paper. Kim Coates, legendary.
Awful.
I think about him all the time. Whenever anyone says the word paper, my brain goes, paper, can you be seen paper? But yeah, it blows my mind that the most valuable, it seems, resource is paper. Everyone loves it and they're willing to swap women and children.
Yeah, the less said about that, the better.
Maybe we'll talk about that. But yet, the smokers are smoking paper. What's going on?
Because you're right.
And the cigarette packets have survived as well.
Why is no one complaining about that?
there's obviously a very significant reason for it, and it's not that they just hadn't thought it through.
Maybe some of the funding came from Big Tobacco.
Most certainly, yeah.
I like that idea that, Waterworld's encouraging people to smoke because, like, I don't know. Although I suppose it's all the villains who are smoking, but it's like, I don't know. Smokers are pretty cool. I mean, you've got Jack Black in there as well, haven't you? You know, it's like...
Yeah.
Yeah, looking like Post Malone randomly.
Post-apocalyptic Malone.
Yes, I like it.
Bill Paxton.
Bill Paxton. I am so sad. I'll be forever sad about all the Bill Paxton performances that we never got.
I know. Whenever I watch a Bill Paxton performance, no matter how small it is, no matter, even if he's a punk in The Terminator,
yeah,
and he's in it for 4 seconds.
Or Chet in Weird Science.
I forgot about. I haven't written down Chet in Weird Science, but yeah, whatever he's in, he's so memorable.
Yeah,
and I'm so happy. I'm at the same time, I'm really happy that I'm watching Bill Paxton, but also very sad that he's no longer with us. So much fun in whatever he's in. We've mentioned Aliens. We haven't mentioned Predator 2.
Oh, yeah.
But he was in that. He's in the Terminator, so he's been killed by an alien predator. And I don't think he was killed by a Terminator, actually.
No, I think he survived.
Maybe he was just lightly injured.
Maimed a little.
But a bit of a Jim Cameron collaborator there. Or he worked on Titanic. He was, I think, the one that threw Rose in the ocean at the end. I think that's how the movie ended. True Lies, he pisses himself. Brilliant. Very, very good in True Lies.
He's always good.
Good in everything. I'm not going to stop saying that. Apollo 13, which is a big snooze fest, but I'm sure it's great. Twister, which
you
you're
love
not.
Twister.
I do like Twister. I've got a lot of time for it. New one's coming out soon with Glenn Powell.
Yeah, and Katie O'Brien. I'm quite happy
was
about
Katie O'Brien in it?
She did, yeah. That's the only reason I'm interested.
Oh, now you're interested, yeah. Tombstone. He's in a blink and you'll miss it role in Commando. If you haven't seen that for a while, go back and revisit that. He's in I always forget about that one. We watched it recently.
We did.
Oh, Bill.
Yeah.
Frailty.
Yeah, which he directed, I think.
Which he directed, which we were speaking about the other night. I would say one of the last things that I remember him from, one of his last really memorable performances was Nightcrawler.
Right. He's
the, I think he's another reporter.
Right, yeah.
Or the camera guy.
What a film.
It's been a few years since I've seen it, but that is a great movie.
It is,
it's due a rewatch as well. But I think that was, I want to say 2014, Nightcrawler. So definitely one of his last. I'm not sure when he passed, but it wasn't.
Must have been shortly after that. It's been a while now.
Yeah. So times Jack Burton asks a question. Who is Lopan? Where the hell am I? Who the hell are you anyway? Someone tell me what the hell's going on. What the hell does that mean? China is here.
That was more of a demand than a question, but okay.
What is this? Chinese or something counting backwards?
Okay.
Jesus Christ, where are we?
JC.
Where's my truck? All right, which way fast before they wake up? Should we go up or down? Where's Gracie?
These are all important questions.
Yeah. I'll come back to some of these, don't worry. Jack Burton, where does this go? Egg Shen, down. JB, down where? That kills me, that one. Down. Where in the hell are we?
Jack Burton, often lost.
Yeah. What is that, huh? What? What'll come out no more?
That could be about anything.
Yeah. What? This gets worse? Come on. God, I can't. This list is a lot longer saying it than it is writing it down, Eddie.
Exhausting.
Yeah. Last couple. Are they real?
Ooh.
This is one of my favourite ones. Jack Burton. What's in a flask? Magic potion? Egg Shen. Yes. Jack Burton. What do we do? Drink it? Egg Shen. Yes. Jack Burton. Good. Thought so. Oh, my God. No. What the hell is that? Don't tell me. Last one. Terrific. A 6-demon bag. Sensational. What's in it, Egg? Oh,
Quizzical man. 7 people wake up with no memory of how they got there in a giant cube and have to figure out how to get out.
So we're thinking, like, I'm getting Crystal Maze vibes from this. I was expecting Richard O'Brien to pop up with his harmonica. Like,
Mumsy.
Mumsy. Would you stop the fans, please?
No such luck.
No.
I was going to say that would have been more entertaining, but that would have just been the Crystal Maze.
It would have just been the Crystal
Yeah.
Maze, yeah. But I'd have been up for that, to be honest. So Crystal Maze movie, that's also what we did.
Ooh, they've done Escape Room. So, 1997.
97, another 90s movie for us.
Yep, late 90s.
No stranger to 90s movies, are we?
No, not so far.
And even 1997, we've covered another 97 movie, haven't we?
Oh, are you going to make me try and guess again?
I wasn't, but now I am, yeah.
Con Air was 96, was it?
Oh, no, Con Air's 97.
Is it?
Yeah. Freeway's 96, isn't it?
Yes.
Yeah.
I don't, my brain's saying 94. Which other one are you thinking of?
Con Air.
Oh.
I was just thinking of Con Air.
Oh, right.
There are others. The other 90s movie is the Fire in the Sky.
Okay.
I was going to say Fire Down Below. That's a Steven Seagal movie.
That's the opposite.
Yeah. The opening scene then with our mate Richards.
Yep.
He gets ghost shipped, doesn't he?
He gets sort of halfway between Ghost Ship and Resident Evil.
Yeah.
The metal grill comes down, and probably my favourite and the best effect in the whole movie.
Yep. He gets meat cubed.
He gets meat cubed.
Yeah.
And they achieved that with a combination of digital effects, and they had like a collapsible head and a collapsible hand that sort of broke apart. So like predominantly physical effects. Obviously the grill itself wasn't really there, but I love how they achieved that.
It looked great. Probably half the budget went on that.
Yeah. Well, you say that, but apparently they got a lot of the effects work either cheap or free, because there was Caligari that I already mentioned, and there was another Toronto-based effects team. And apparently they just sort of agreed to come on and do a lot of it for nothing.
Just for the love of it.
Yeah.
Great.
So that definitely kept the budget down quite considerably.
Calling in favours.
Mm-hmm.
Love it.
Yeah. Inventive filmmaking. We love it. Putting aside completely the fact that the actor himself is not autistic, that's not necessarily something I have an issue with. I'd love to see more autistic people in film playing autistic characters. That would be great. But that's a conversation for a different time. I think my problem is that it is that version of autism that we always see. That's my biggest problem. And it's sort of like he's only there because he's useful. He's a hindrance. His autism is a hindrance to the other characters, especially when it comes to him making noise and having to sort of follow orders. But then he's the only one who can get them out of there, it turns out. And it just annoys me. It makes sense within the framework of this film, but I also hate it because I feel like the majority of autistic people, or maybe not the majority, but a huge portion of autistic people are like me. We are just decidedly average people, mediocre in every way.
I wouldn't call you mediocre.
Thank you. Besides the fact that I hate socializing, I don't like bright lights or loud sounds, and I have a particular hyper focus for things like, films. But I'm not a genius in any regard. I'm not a savant. If I was in that room, I would have been panicking. I'd have been the first one to die. That's the realistic version of autism, And I just want more variation.
I think
we're getting it now. We're starting to.
Yeah, we're starting to fucking woke media. Yeah, I think you're right. I think we are starting to. I think you said something just there about that being the most common representation of autism. And I think you're right. I think because the reason that I cringe, I was trying to think and it's a sensitive subject, so I'm trying to sort of frame my words carefully, but I think that's the thing that I have an issue with. It's like, we've seen this before. It's always a plot device. It's always a genius that has to solve a problem.
Yeah.
It's always Bruce Willis has got to protect this fucking genius kid because he can solve the Mercury code or whatever.
Yeah. And like even now we are still getting plenty of that. Like the
Yeah.
night clerk, the accountant, it's still always the white male savant.
Making a sequel to The Accountant.
Oh, fuck off. But it's always the white male savant who's been underestimated.
Yeah.
That is the stereotype.
Yeah.
And I just want to see more diversity.
Yeah.
I've never, ever, ever seen a film with an autistic character who isn't white.
Mm.
Never. And that is shocking.
Yeah. Well, is it though?
In this day and age, yes.
Yeah.
And it needs to be addressed.
Hopefully we'll get more.
Yeah.
You know what these fucking Disney studios are like nowadays, and they're just catering for everyone. Just
How dare they?
how dare they try and represent everybody? That's just disgusting, isn't it? Why do I want to see in my media when all I've watched for my entire life is white men with huge muscles saying fuck at people?
But you do love that.
I do love that. I know, that's the irony, isn't it? I do love that. Yeah.
I know you're being sarcastic,
Yeah.
but
Put
No.
everyone in films. It's interesting.
Yeah.
Everyone's interesting. Let's
Yeah.
have something for everybody, shall we? Fucking
couldn't agree more.
white men. We've kind of had enough, you know. We get everything. So maybe somebody else could have a slice of the pie for a little bit, eh?
But I'm gonna climb down off my soapbox right now
Okay.
and remind
careful.
myself. Yeah,
Be careful.
I know I'm quite
my hand.
clumsy.
Yeah.
That's another autistic trait.
And is the box made of soap? So it's slippery. Be careful.
And I'm the literal one, am I?
You mentioned prime numbers there. That's another link to the last episode.
Oh
Remember
yeah.
They did the prime numbers thing because Anne was like, yeah, give me some gummy drops and I'll fucking tell you the prime numbers.
Yeah, this would make a decent double bill. Actually,
It would. It's a good thing we're doing it in the same season.
It is.
It's not like my season where it's all over the place.
I
and some
should
of them are
pretend that
near.
I planned this all along.
Don't
Edit
worry.
this out, yeah.
The next one's going to be completely different.
Yeah, I was completely out of left field. But yeah, the names are biblical names. So Ava is basically another form of Eve, which is literally the first woman in the Bible, not in real life. Obviously in that fiction book, the Bible. Nathan was a prophet, and Caleb was a spy sent to evaluate the promised land by Moses, I believe.
The Turing test.
Yeah.
Interesting.
So I kind of love that as well.
Mm.
And another little one, which I also think is super neat. At one point, I think it's when Caleb's in the bathroom looking in the mirror and you can hear Enola Gay playing by
Right.
Orchestral Maneuvers in the Dark. Obviously, Enola Gay is the name of the aeroplane that dropped
Yeah.
the atomic bomb on Hiroshima.
Yeah.
So literally, like, everything has thought behind it.
Mm.
It's nuts. So let's talk about the beginning then, because that is the most unpleasant part of the film, but it's a necessary evil, I think. So how did that make you feel?
Well, I said to you last night, while we were watching it, you got up and you did a pause because you need to go to the bathroom.
Always.
Honestly, I thought that the film was ending about 20 minutes before that. I thought, we can probably hold it because it's going to be finished soon. But there was still 40 minutes left. So I think that first act in the apartment, I'm not exaggerating, it honestly felt like an hour to me.
Wow.
And I guess it must have been half that, right? It must have...
Like half an hour?
Yeah. So essentially it's the first act of the movie and lays the groundwork for everything to come.
Mm-hmm.
But honestly, like, it just went on forever. I think because it was so uncomfortable.
But I think that's it though, isn't it? It's sort of testament to how unbearable it is.
Yeah.
You're forced, I mean, through a number of filmmaking decisions, some of which were actually quite genius.
Yeah.
You are sort of forced into Bobby's point of view.
Yeah.
Obviously, most notably that he had binaural microphones hidden in his wig on either side of his head. But yeah, everything that you're hearing is what he hears.
So the sound is from his perspective.
Yeah.
It works.
Yeah.
I think there's a few tricks that they used. I wouldn't even say tricks. I'll just say like you used the perfect word yesterday, experimental.
Oh yeah.
There's a few things
it's absolutely an experimental movie.
Yeah, and some things that maybe shouldn't work, but in this kind of story that they're telling, it does all sort of come together and make you feel a thing.
Yeah.
And for that, I applaud it. But it is incredibly uncomfortable, and I guess that's the point. I think in that first act was really tricky to get through because of the things that are happening to Bobby.
Yeah, you don't have to be vague. We've given the trigger warning.
Yeah.
I mean, he hangs Dong within like 30 seconds of the film starting, you're clued into what kind of a film this is going to be very, very quickly.
Yeah. But yeah, I think it's not just the stuff that happened in that first part. It's also the way that it's shot. That it's just like, oh, this is brutal.
It's oppressive.
Oppressive is a great word to use. Yeah. We watched an interview, didn't we, with director?
Rolf de Heer.
Rolf de Heer, thank you. And he was saying that he had an idea to shoot it in a different aspect ratio, right?
Yeah.
But he was watching it, and he said it was too much.
Yeah.
It was just too much to bear.
Also, can we talk about this for a second?
Oh, what?
Well, you're just dreading it every time I bring up a new point. The logistics of Bobby, in that he would have like scurvy, brittle bones, huge vitamin D deficiencies.
Right.
Like he would have like muscle wasting. This is not a realistic movie. But
No.
that is like so in the realms of fantasy that he would be a healthy 35-year-old.
Do you know what's concerning to me is that your biggest concern about this movie is his nutrition.
Well, I was concerned, yeah.
That's the thing we want to talk about, is
Yeah.
it? Okay. We've done
He
the
was
incest.
not getting his 5 a day.
We've done the
Dan.
animal cruelty.
Yeah.
Why isn't he eating a load of bananas?
Yeah. Potassium.
Yeah. No, agreed. Like I said, probably getting a lot of protein from bugs around the
Yeah.
house. Gets enough energy from the sugar and probably, I don't know. I don't know what happens when you feed a human bread and sugar for 35 years.
Not this. Or
No.
maybe exactly this. Who knows?
Who knows?
Nobody's ever done that experiment.
No, and nobody ever should either.
No, we don't advise it.
So we are firmly in the trapped season, as we've mentioned. We're taking another bite of the John Carpenter tree today. And what a treat this tree is, because we are discussing Assault on Precinct 13.
Yeah. I've got a bone to pick with you.
With me?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Well, you should have opened with that.
You know how last season I tried to make you justify your choice of film each show?
Yeah.
And
I know what's coming.
of all of the John Carpenter movies,
Yeah.
you decided to go for Big Trouble in Little China, which we both agreed was not a neo-Western, when this was staring you in the face.
Yeah.
This is absolutely a neo-Western.
I was going to bring this up as well.
Okay, good.
Because this is way more of a Western
Yeah.
than Big Trouble in Little China. It had a similar traction, though, similar beginnings, because this one also started life as a Western, much like Big Trouble in
Yes.
Little China. But this is kind of the siege, it's the shootout, it's the bad people that are good. What's the word for that?
Anti-hero?
Anti-heroes, that's it.
Bad people what are also good.
Oh, come on. Give me a break. Yeah, this would have fitted way better.
Yeah.
And I thought that while we were watching the movie. I think I just really wanted to talk about Big Trouble in Little China. But on reflection, maybe should have saved that for another season. Could have fitted within a flop season that we've been talking about. We floated the idea of that at some point. We've gone from Carpenter to Cronenberg.
Yeah, all the C's. But not Big Daddy Cronenberg.
Not the Master Cronenberg.
No, one of his progeny.
One of his offspring.
Yes.
He has 2 offspring, right?
That I'm aware of.
Well, he's got 2 that have done anything of note.
In the industry.
As far as I'm concerned.
There could be a third that's a doctor, for all you know.
Yeah, but they've done nothing, have they? Loads of people are doctors. Who's made weird body horror movies? It's only the Cronenbergs.
It's their thing. It's their thing. Imagine that being like the baton that you pass to your children.
Yeah, strange one.
Like, I don't know. My dentist got into the industry because his parents are into dentistry.
Okay.
So, there are family industries, so to speak. But body horror is a very hyper-specific one.
It's very niche. I think you get all these programs, the Osbournes, the Kardashians. Why haven't we got the Cronenbergs?
Oh my God, that's a reality show I would actually watch.
Yeah, exactly. What do they talk about at dinner?
Do you think they're really boring?
No, I think they're like, pass the potatoes. Maybe one day potatoes will grow from human bodies. That's the sort of
there's
shit.
an idea there. They're all sitting there with notepads.
Yeah. Christopher Abbott, Colin Tate, he was really good in this too.
He crops up in a ton of stuff. The first thing I ever saw him in was Girls, which was a Leonard Dunham.
That's a bit very
written-
personal information.
It was Leonard Dunham's HBO series, which, say what you will about Leonard Dunham. I know she's not very popular. She's a bit of a controversial figure, but she can write.
Is she a puppet person?
No, you're thinking of Jeff Dunham.
Oh, okay.
He's
didn't
the
mean
really
is-
racist puppet guy.
Is she? She's not a racist puppet person.
No, she's problematic for other reasons that I don't really want to get into. But yeah, that was the first time I saw him in anything. And he was such a sort of ineffectual side character. I didn't really pay much attention. But he's been cropping up in a bunch of stuff and he's always really good.
Yorgos Lanthimos, Poor Things.
Yeah,
Yeah,
well,
most
smaller
recently.
role, but yeah,
You mentioned Jennifer Jason Leigh earlier.
Mhm.
She plays Gerda.
she does, yes.
And is that name, does that name have meaning? Is my question. Gerda.
Gerda?
Yeah,
I don't know.
I think it does. And I'll explain why later.
Okay, I'll hold you to that.
Sean Bean.
Saint Bean!
Yeah.
All the Northerners are in this.
Of course, Equilibrium and National Treasure. And
Don't do him dirty like that.
what-
At least say sharp.
Sharp. Yeah, of course. How could I forget Sharp? That long-running ITV drama.
Yeah? I've never watched
was
it in
it?
my entire life.
I always get Sharp and Hornblower mixed up. I don't know which one's which. One of them's got Sean Bean in tight trousers. I know that much.
Yeah.
Tuppence Middleton
Yeah.
replaced Stacey Martin.
Who's Stacey Martin?
Stacey Martin was in The Imitation Game, which keeps coming up.
I don't think I've seen that. Oh no.
Or hang on. Or maybe, no, hang on. I've gotten this wrong. I think Tuppence Middleton was in The Imitation Game. I'm mixing up my notes here.
Okay.
Maybe let's just cut all this bit out.
So go back to your theory about Gerda then.
So Gerda, the name is, is part of a structural member of a building, whatever. Like, is that intentional? Because Tassia sees her work, and given that Gerda represents the company, that's her focus point. That's what's keeping her centered. That's what's like keeping her balanced. Gerda is her supporting framework. I just read her name. I was like, yeah, I've got a theory here.
What does Martin mean?
I don't know, cardigan,
Roughly translated to cardigan.
slippers, and one of those little trays that you put on your lap when you're having a cup of tea. You have a pot of tea when you're a Martin.
When you're a Martin.
Yeah. Do all of those things together and you're a proper Martin.
Okay. That sounds good to me.
The House Martins.
Was Fatboy Slim in the House Martins, or have I
Fatboy Slim-
imagined that?
Yeah. Not, yeah, you've imagined it. Yeah. Fatboy Slim was in the House Martins. Yeah.
Right, that wasn't a Mandela effect.
You would think it would be out of all of the things that are. They're like, Monopoly Man hasn't got a monocle. Fatboy Slim, what? He's always been a DJ.
Yeah, except when he wasn't.
Except when he was in the House Martins.
Yeah.
So I think I'm trying to, in a roundabout way, trying to say I'm struggling a little bit to form any opinion on this film outside of it made me laugh a lot.
Okay. Can I offer something that may give meaning to it?
Please.
Now, I haven't found any instances where Yorgos has talked about this specifically, but there are a number of articles and think pieces online that reference Plato's The Allegory of the Cave. Is that something you're familiar with? Because I wasn't.
The Plato of the Cave.
The Allegory of the Cave.
Plato's Allegory of the Cave.
Yes.
Do you think that he would have turned out differently if he was not called Plato?
If he was called Derek,
yeah.
he might not have been such a deep thinker.
I get, yeah, 100%.
No.
Is this the one with the shadows?
Yes.
Yeah, I'm kind of familiar with it, yeah.
Okay, so a dumbed down version basically is that the story is there's a number of people in a cave, they're facing one way, their reality is shaped by shadows that they see on the wall without realizing that the world behind them is much wider and there's so much more to it. So I think that sort of definitely comes into play here. This is not only the second movie that deals with a weird family dynamic this season. It's also the second movie that deals with incest.
A theme which will reappear before the season is finished.
I know, and you're starting to give me a complex about it. I didn't even think of those elements when I did the lineup for this season, but I'm starting to wonder if I've got a problem.
I did point that out to you, didn't I?
Yeah.
I said, do you realise that 3 of your movies features incest?
Yeah. And some of the comparisons that I was trying to come up with in my notes for this film, one of them also contains incest.
It's interesting because this is a hard one to draw comparisons on. But the biggest one is a movie, like you say, that we've already covered, Bad Boy Bubby. That's the closest thing that I can think of to this movie.
It's funny, until we started watching this, I hadn't even considered how much the two kind of have in common, with the exception that I feel like Bad Boy Bubby is probably more uplifting.
Yeah, I'd agree with that.
Has a bit more of an optimistic point of view, perhaps.
But not as funny.
No. It's close, though.
Yeah. Oh, it has its moments, don't get me wrong, but like, there are points in this movie where I'm howling, which is weird to say about a movie about incest.
It is often described as a horror comedy, so I don't think you're too far off. Like, no, it is intentionally funny.
All of his movies are comedies, in my opinion. All of them are laugh out loud funny. All of them are. They're all funnier than American Pie: The Wedding, which apparently is a comedy. So, you know.
I can't say I've ever seen that one. I'll have to take your word for it.
No, neither have I, but I'm just assuming.
Some direct comparisons I did come up with. The Cement Garden, and it's based on an early Ian McEwan novel, I believe, which I've also read. Very incesty. Right. Would also fit in our current season because technically season. Trapped.
Right.
Yeah. Should we just rename it at this point?
No, we might get banned in several countries.
Incest and other weird sex.
There'll be certain pockets where the season does really well.
Yeah,
I imagine. But
we're not here to judge.
No.
But yeah, that has very much a similar feel, like a really sort of, I don't know, it's a grayer version of Dogtooth, and not quite as bizarre, believe it or not. And the other thing, which might sound like a stretch, but the other thing that came to mind was The Village.
The M. Night Shyamalan movie.
Yeah, just in the sense that it's a bunch of elders who create a false reality for the next generation.
Yeah, I can totally understand that. They completely fabricate the entire existence of that community.
And control them and keep them where they are through fear.
Yeah, through fear and misinformation.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's a really good comparison. I like that.
On the face of it sounds strange, but there are more commonalities than you would think.
Yeah, make a good double bill.
Would they?
Yeah.
Obviously, Anthony Michael Hall and Molly Ringwald dated for a short period of time after The Breakfast Club.
Oh, did they?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
But then John Hughes sort of went a bit Tim Burton and tried to cast them both in everything. And they were just like, nah, we're not Johnny Depp. And they just started turning roles down. Like, I know Anthony Michael Hall was supposed to be the John Cryer character in Pretty in Pink.
Okay.
Cannot imagine anybody other than John Cryer doing that role, I have to be honest.
Yeah.
Molly Ringwald, I believe, was supposed to be in Ferris Bueller's Day Off.
As Sloane?
I have no idea.
Okay.
Potentially. But yeah, they kind of got a bit tired of the whole shtick.
Yeah.
And then they sort of parted ways.
That's understandable. I mean, you probably want to do different things if you can. Unless you're Johnny Depp. No, it's different. In this one, you've got scissors on your hands. Still a Tim Burton movie, though, isn't it, really?
Speaking of, Anthony Michael Hall was in Edward Scissorhands. That's just reminded me.
Was he?
That's just unlocked a memory, yeah.
Oh, no.
I think he was like the meathead boyfriend.
Trevor Meathead?
Yeah, Trevor Meathead.
He literally had meat for a head.
Yeah. I want to talk a little bit more, because we spent a long time talking about Bender. So I want to examine the other characters a little bit. Andrew, what do you make of him? Because I'm not a huge fan of the Double E, I'll be honest.
Oh, you're not?
He's
my guy.
Is he?
Yeah, he's my guy.
Because you're into like Young Guns and other stuff that he was in.
Young Guns and Young Guns 2 are two of probably my favourite movies of the 80s. I enjoy them a lot.
And I grew up on the Mighty Ducks, man.
And the Mighty Ducks, D2, the Mighty Ducks, because that's the best one.
D2 was good. Yeah, if you go backwards, the first one's so boring.
Yeah, I know. I saw the second one first and was like, this is the best thing I've ever seen.
Show me the flying V, goddammit.
Yeah. Nah, cool, puck. And 3 was just toilet.
Toilet, yeah.
But yeah, I'm partial to Mighty Ducks. Maybe do a rewatch soon. Maybe do a
perhaps, yeah.
Sunday afternoon movie session.
Maybe we need to do a sports theme
Yeah.
one season.
We do need to do a sports theme, really. I thought about it, but my reservations are that they're all going to be the same movie.
There's got to be some other where the team that they focus on loses.
Rocky.
Okay, there you go. Spoilers.
That's the only one. Can't fucking, if you haven't seen Rocky 1, a 68-year-old movie, that's your fault.
But yeah, so I'm partial to Coach Gordon Bombay,
Yeah.
but outside of that role,
So you're not a fan of Free Jack, is what you're saying?
I'm not. No.
Oh, good Lord, we need to. There's some movies that you have to watch during your
Are there?
lifetime.
And Free Jack is one of them.
Free Jack, I would say, is Mick Jagger's best movie.
Well, you say that. Have you ever seen Performance?
No.
Ah, there you go. Nicholas Roeg.
Oh, right. Well, I would say it's probably still Free Jack as his best movie.
All right. Yeah, she doesn't say anything until like the 25-minute mark, I think.
And that's why she is my favourite character.
Yeah. She's also my favourite character. That's definitely not going to come as a surprise.
I'm glad. Well, if you just said it was Bender, I'd have been like, well, we've got something to talk about here.
No, it's the strange mentally ill one.
Yeah, of course. It's the interesting one.
Yeah.
It's the and right up until she gets the makeover. So we're agreed then. We hate Bender.
Yes.
Get fucked, Bender.
Yeah.
I want it to be freeze frame on Emilio Estevez.
No, I'm not that fond of his character either.
No, he's not great.
He taped someone's buns together.
It took me a minute to realise. I turned to you and went, what did he say? And he went, tapes his buns. I'm like, what's that?
Butt cheeks.
Yeah, I was like, oh, okay. I didn't realise that's what butt cheeks were called, buns.
I have. Do you not? There's
No,
like
I
a
don't
famous
think so.
workout tape called Buns of Steel. It's basically just a lot of squats.
Oh, yeah, I think I saw that at a Cannes Film Festival a few years ago.
It's referenced in Clueless. See, everything I learned from movies. I have questions about that as well.
About the buns.
Yes.
Yeah, like what way is it?
Well, yeah. I'm guessing it's sort of around and not up and down because that would waste a lot of tape.
It would waste a lot of tape. Yeah, it was.
If it was diagonal, you'd have to do it both ways. But again, tape wastage.
Yeah.
It's not very environmentally friendly.
So you would assume it was just around his kind of lower waist, around the bum.
One butt cheek to another butt cheek, yeah.
Right. Okay, so it's just one single piece of tape then.
Yeah.
And hair and skin came off when they removed it.
Apparently.
How strong is this tape? Where can I get some?
Apparently you can only buy it from the Home Shopping channel.
Right, is that the same channel that the teacher buys his calendars from?
Oh, Rigid.
Rigid, yeah. Which is a picture of a woman in swimwear.
On the beach.
Opening a toolbox on the beach.
Because why wouldn't you need to bring your toolbox to the beach? I mean, makes perfect sense to me.
That was the most bizarre thing when I noticed that. I thought, who's doing a set dressing on this?
Of all the things that don't make sense in this film, I love that that's the thing you focused on.
Yeah, I guess so. And the name Barbarian is an interesting name as well.
Yeah.
I mean,
doesn't give a lot away.
No, and immediately I'm thinking about Arnold Schwarzenegger punching a horse. You know, it's
way off track.
But it's an unusual thing you don't hear very often, and also clever because who is that applying to?
Snog, marry,
rock.
or kill.
Oh.
The mother. Bad boy Bobby. No, I'm kidding.
God, we really need to explore these things in some more detail in this rap show, don't we?
We do.
Should
we do.
Do you know any therapists that we can invite on as a guest?
We'll figure something out.
We get like a YouTube shrink on or something.
Yeah. Get onto. Let's try and get a BetterHelp affiliate.
Welcome
Let's try and get
Barbarian,
sponsored.
Sponsored by BetterHelp.
But before we do the wrap show, which you will be able to access on our Patreon for just £3 a month.
Next week, from next week.
Yeah, it would definitely be worth listening to. I think we're going to have a lot of fun with this one this season. But yeah, so before we take our season break, what are we doing next time? Because it's over to you. It's your choice this time.
Yep. 8 movies of your choosing, which
Mhm.
means it's 8 movies of my choosing next.
Yeah.
I went backwards and forwards a little bit on what theme I wanted to choose. Eventually, I landed on Dreams.
Okay.
Interesting because it's maybe slightly darker, the lineup, than I would usually choose.
Oh, yes.
Which, yeah, I know, I can see you
Rubbing
there,
my hands
very
with
happy.
glee.
Yeah. The first episode we're doing is Come True, which
Mm.
again is another recent movie.
Yeah.
I very rarely remember my dreams.
I do quite often.
And how are they?
They veer between the absolute mundane
Mm,
to VHS shopping one minute and then running away from burglars the next.
okay.
There's a lot of being chased, actually. Being chased is definitely a recurring theme in my dreams.
Do you ever fly in your dreams?
I've never flown that I'm aware of.
You just walk in.
Yeah.
Okay, boring.
Just using me trotters.
Yeah. Like I said, I very rarely remember my dreams, but I do remember a few from when I was a kid. I do sort of tend to float in my dreams rather than fly. I tend to float a few feet off the ground.
So you're just hovering.
I'm sort of hovering.
That's way less impressive.
There's this weird thing that seems to be recurring in my dreams as well, where if I flap my arms like they're wings, I can get off the ground a little bit, but I have to keep flapping like really vigorously, and I can only get up a little bit, and I'm knackered. Yeah.
Have you tried doing this in real life?
Well, yeah, obviously. Doesn't work. Try it from the ground.
Dream logic.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we follow Sarah. She wakes up. She cycles to what we are to believe is her mum's house. And now the room that she's in, I'm going to say, is probably a teenager's bedroom, looking at the decor. Because we know all teenagers love Weekend at Bernie's.
Yeah. I mean, I did.
Yeah, exactly. There we go. Anecdotally, all teenagers love Weekend at
Yeah.
Bernie's. There are several moments throughout the film where her mum sort of tries to reach her, whether that's kind of shouting after her, looking for her, trying to call her on her phone. I think the synopsis describes her as a runaway.
Oh, does it?
Yeah.
Okay. See, I feel like that's a red herring.
Yeah, massively. The
Yeah.
whole film is a red herring.
That statement was a red herring.
Yeah. This whole courtroom's a red herring.
Was Cole Young, was he kind of a bit mystic?
Do I look like Carl Jung's biographer?
I don't know what Cole Young's biographer looks like.
I
Okay.
genuinely don't have a clue.
'Cause
I don't know much about the man himself.
I think I heard somewhere that he believed that these four things,
Mhm.
what,
Aspects
of a person's psyche, are kind of passed down through from generation
Oh,
to
yeah.
generation
Yeah.
through some kind of genetic memory.
Yes.
Because in his mind, it was kind of the same as instincts. Animals that are born and they can walk straight away.
Yeah.
How do they know that?
Yeah.
Or there's certain things that you know already.
Yeah.
Breastfeeding, like you're a kid, you come out of the vagina. Not going to explain
You
how
could
that works.
just say the womb.
They don't come out of the womb.
Of course
They're
they
in
do.
I suppose they do.
They exit the
But
womb.
The exit point is the vagina. but and I know nothing.
We're talking psychology, not biology here.
And I know nothing about children or babies, but from my understanding is the second that you whack a nipple in front of them, they're just sucking away, right?
Yes, I
There's
believe
no
so.
like, oh, how'd you do that? Give me some instructions.
Well,
Get
some
on
of them do
YouTube.
need to be encouraged.
I would-
I've never had a child, and I would like to expand that by saying I've never breastfed any children either.
Go on, you can
It's
do
not
it.
always assumed.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know. Yeah, I believe it is one of those instinctual things. What is your favourite visual from one of the nightmare sequences? I think for me, it's the creature that was all legs. Because that was a little bit Silent Hill.
It was a bit Silent Hill, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, you're right.
That will stay with me for quite some time.
Yeah, I mean, how much you spending on shoes?
Oh, you'd go bankrupt.
Yeah. What if you get athlete's foot? Which foot is it?
Yeah.
All your feet. What if you're a creature person that has legs all over your body and you want to go swimming and then you have to go through that little bit that stops verrucas from getting into the pool? You know, that little bit of water.
Well, you got to be rinsed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So will they have to do like a cartwheel through that? So that
I
all
guess
of the
so,
feet-
yeah.
Yeah. But then I suppose how are you floating if you're totally made of feet?
Yeah, how do you swim?
How do you do anything?
We're going to
really?
be picturing this for a long time.
Yeah.
I think that creature was potentially Tarantino's Perfect Woman. You've decided that we are doing altered states for this episode.
You're welcome.
Am I?
Yes. It's odd.
Yeah, that's an understatement.
I can't think a better way to put it. It's an odd movie.
It's a deeply odd movie. One I'd never seen before.
That's crazy.
Shockingly.
That's crazy. Why hadn't you seen it? Was you aware of it when you were a kid?
No, not at all. It just was not on my radar. Ken Russell is a name that I've heard bandied about in film circles for years and years and years. But I went through his directorial credits in the what's the word? The
Internet.
research process
The
for this. On the internet, yes, on the www. And I was kind of amazed at how few titles I was familiar with.
Yeah.
Because I count The Devils as one of my favourite films. Like at this point, it may have cracked the top 10. I'm not sure.
Wow.
I love it. I think it's such an intense, powerful movie.
Also odd.
Oh, yeah, deeply. But I get the impression from my reading that he did sort of make a habit of making really deeply odd, quite flamboyant is a word that's often used about his movies.
You made me watch The Devils.
You'd have to phrase it like that. I made you.
Well, I did.
I treated you to a viewing of The Devils.
I may not have gotten around to it if it just left to my own devices. I probably would have watched Beverly Hills Cop 2 again.
Each to their own.
Yeah, odd movie. There's a crocodile in it for some reason.
Why not?
Maybe my rewatch should just be all centered around the question of whether or not I can answer why crocodile.
I am going to tell you now, give up.
Okay.
Don't go in for a second viewing with that clouding your mind.
All right. Okay. All right. It was weird because I also was going through his filmography on the internet. The two that I can pick out is The Devils, because I've seen it, and Tommy. And there's not much else. The one that I knew was Altered States.
Right. Okay. Yeah, I think the only other one that I've seen is Lair of the White Worm. What?
What's that about?
It's not what you think.
Oh, I thought it was a sex thing.
I mean, it's not a stretch with Ken Russell, is
No,
it?
everything's
It
a
is
sex
often a sex thing with Ken Russell.
Yeah.
No, it's based on a book by Bram Stoker.
Oh, the Dracula guy.
Yeah,
Right.
he didn't just write Dracula, it turns out.
Yeah. Bram.
Bram, yeah.
Oh, Bram, you finished that book yet? I'm halfway through. Piss off.
I believe that's a reenactment of an exact conversation that happened, featuring Bram Stoker's mum.
Butler.
Butler. Oh, you think he had a
No.
butler?
Yeah, no, why would the butler be angry at him? The butler would be angry because the butler would get fired. It's
Yeah.
definitely more of an authority figure. Yeah, let's go with mum.
Yeah, okay.
Mrs.
I'm glad we've cleared that up.
Mrs. Stoker. If you were alive on Christmas Day in 1980, would you have gone to see this on opening day?
Yeah.
Yeah, me too. Can you imagine? Why did Warner Brothers release this on Christmas Day?
I don't really know because,
What?
like, who's going, oh, Merry Christmas, love. Here's a psychedelic treaty on the human condition and what it means to be alive. Fancy a turkey sandwich? What the fuck?
Released Christmas Day. I think it shat the bed. The budget was $15 million and I think it grossed about 20, I heard.
Okay.
But I think that's because you released it on Christmas Day.
Yeah. People were busy, you know?
I mean, the only film that you can release on Christmas Day is Avatar. Because people will just go and watch that no matter what.
There's no accounting for taste.
I can't get past that someone made that decision. A Christmas themed movie, is it?
It was a different time. There were a lot more drugs in the mainstream.
Yeah.
I mean, it is like sci-fi neo-noir, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, like it has all of the elements that you need, I think, to consider something noir. It's got the kind of the architecture, the flashbacks, the
mystery,
mystery.
You've got like the gumshoe detective type,
Yeah.
the femme fatale.
Hats, people wearing hats.
People wearing hats, yeah.
Yeah, it definitely, like it's a noir movie, and I feel like that's when Price was trying to develop this in his mind. I think that's one of the things that he thought of that kind of unlocked a way of making this for him.
Okay,
because
yeah.
he was able to create a lot of the characters via archetypes in that kind of genre, and I think that's partly why I think this falls apart a little bit for me watching this now as a 40-year-old.
Mm-hmm.
I still think it's good, and I still think it's very interesting, but it's nowhere near the beam-off masterpiece that I thought that it was when I was 14.
I am going to go ahead and agree with you. When I was reading the trivia, I saw something that talked about last Thursdayism. It said this film was an example of last Thursdayism, which was credited to Bertrand Russell.
Oh, Bertrand. I like Bertrand. Unless he's a Nazi, and then I don't like.
You know you can edit that out, right?
Yeah.
You don't have to say the
I'm
Nazi.
just so nervous now about saying I like anybody because you
know.
don't know what's going to happen.
Just everyone's awful.
Yeah.
Just start from there. But the more digging I did, it seemed to be that Last Thursdayism is kind of the antithesis of what this film is sort of saying.
Yeah.
And Bertrand Russell was kind of an opponent of the omphalos hypothesis, which I believe was originally put out by Philip Henry Gossi. And that Last Thursdayism is kind of a derogatory term that people who poo-pooed that idea called it. So the omphalos hypothesis is basically an attempt to reconcile the evidence of the Earth being billions of years old. Obviously, there's all this scientific evidence, trying to reconcile that with the literal interpretation from the book of Genesis and the Bible, which talks about the 7 days, the 6 days of creation, and then the one lazy day that he had when he put his feet up on Sunday.
Yeah, well, fucking Telly Addicts is on.
He's got to watch Gogglebox, hasn't he? But obviously that's the literal interpretation states that the Earth is only a few thousand years old.
Yeah.
I.e. a creator planted evidence.
Yeah.
Like the divine creator planted evidence to make the planet appear much older than it is.
Yeah.
And so Last Thursdayism is sort of the naysayers of that theory, of that hypothesis, kind of saying, well, you know, you might as well say that the Earth was created last Thursday then.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's very complicated at its core, but it was an interesting read, especially with this film in mind.
We're actually talking about a movie about dreams this time. And I know kind of, we've spoken about Altered States and Dark City, which is an interpretation of different states of consciousness.
Which weren't about dreams.
And also, well, you're talking about simulation and stuff, and that's a form of dream. It's related. I'm gonna keep that thread going. And in fact, Nick Bostrom is name checked in this movie, so that's all completely planned. Who obviously popularized the term. I don't think he invented simulation theory, but I'm pretty sure that he came up with the 3 rules of simulation.
Oh yeah, obviously he says. So I don't know who this guy is. You're going to have to explain it when we get to that point.
Oh, maybe we will.
You're more the philosopher guy.
I'm not a philosopher guy.
Well, I'm not the philosopher guy. In the world of dream scenario, would you rather, you have to have a dream about Nic Cage. Would you rather it was a dream about Nic Cage where he beats you around the head with a meat cleaver? Or would you rather have a sex dream about Nic Cage where he's wearing a big David Byrne suit?
That's a trick question.
Is it?
I don't want to be hit around the head with a meat sausage, a meat
Careful.
Hammer. Oh my God.
That's not conclusive as to which one you want.
Oh, Freud! Damn you. Why did I say meat sausage?
Because we watched a Guy Ritchie film last night where they used the word sausage quite a lot.
That's right. Now, I would like to have a conversation with Guy Ritchie about Sigmund Freud.
Yes.
What were we talking about?
Which dream would you rather have?
Oh, come on. I'm going to have the sex one because otherwise I'm dead in the other one, aren't I?
Yeah, all right.
So I'm going to have to... Hang on. In the sex dream, right? Am I doing a premature ejaculation like Nicolas Cage? Or is he coming on to me? Yeah. Who am I in that scenario?
You're you.
What am I doing then?
I don't know. It's your dream.
So I'm sitting there and he's in the corner, like in Molly's dream.
Sure.
And he walks over and then grabs my hair at the back and starts to kiss me.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't hate that, actually. Maybe not as his character in this, though. Maybe I'd prefer if it was Cameron Poe, I think.
Would you?
Connor, yeah.
With the mullet.
Yeah.
The mullet and the wife beater vest does it for you.
I'm not saying it does it for me. I'm saying if I've got to pick a Cage movie where
sure.
I have relations, I did not have relations. If I've got to have relations with a Nicolas Cage character, I should think about this. But then Stanley Goodspeed from The Rock is very clean cut and he's clever as well. You can have some good conversations with him.
What about John Travolta with Nicolas Cage's face?
Now you'd have to pay me. So it's John Travolta's personality.
Yeah.
So he's a Scientologist
it's a big
still.
2 thumbs down.
Yeah. David Lowery. So he had experienced lucid dream completely by accident. He said that he was sleeping and he'd become aware that it was a dream, but it gave him this idea for a script about dream assassins.
Mm-hmm.
And so Dreamscape came about from that. He sold it to Fox, I think, but when they costed it at $12 million, they decided not to go ahead with it because it was too much. They didn't want to spend $12 million on this story.
Okay.
But it's interesting because they would eventually become involved with the distribution of the movie.
You say it was costed at 12 million.
Mm-hmm.
Was that the actual budget?
No, they managed to get it done for 5 million.
Wow, okay.
I think the internet said 6 million, but one of the producers on the extra said, Bruce Curtis, I believe it was, said it was 5 million. So I'll take what he says at face value, but he's a producer, so he's probably lying, allegedly. What happened is, I think once Bruce Curtis got his hands on it, he brought in, I think, Chuck Russell and Joe Rubin, director. Between Lowry, Chuck Russell and Joe Rubin, they all refined the script and made it kind of what it is. Chuck Russell was a producer on this movie and interestingly went on to direct A Nightmare on Elm Street 3, Dream Warriors.
Did he?
Yes.
Oh.
And The Mask, funnily enough.
Oh.
The Jim Carrey one, not the Eric Stoltz
Yeah.
one.
I assume. When you say The Mask, my brain does tend to go to Jim Carrey, funnily enough.
Or that Transformers knockoff.
Well, oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Was that an acronym? Like everything was back then?
It has to be. Of course it was.
What is with the 80s and saxophones?
I think Dennis Quaid asked if he could play the saxophone because he wanted to play the saxophone.
But like, I can name 3 films off the top of my head in which characters play saxophones, and they were all in the 80s.
Lost Boys.
The Lost Boys, obviously. This, St. Elmo's Fire.
Yeah.
That's it. What is with the 80s and the obsession with
I
saxophones?
don't know. It was a curious choice.
There was a period of time where everybody was under the impression that they were quite a sexy instrument. And I think, well, I hope we've all come to our senses now.
The one thing that I like about the saxophone being in it is it did lead to that David Patrick Kelly scene where he's blowing on a saxophone and he's just not breaking eye contact with Dennis Quaid, and it's magnificent.
That was probably one of my favourite scenes.
I think it's my favourite scene, yeah. Anything with David Patrick Kelly is my favourite scene in this movie.
Mm-hmm. Do you know who gives me like David Patrick Kelly vibes now?
I've got someone in mind. Who are you thinking?
Ben Foster.
I can see that, actually. I hadn't
Just-
thought of that, yeah.
He's like, they're both very intense in their acting, and they both take roles where they're sort of quite unhinged. Like obviously Hell or High Water, which we covered, Alpha Dog. Ben Foster is just off the deep end in that one.
Pandorum, which is in with Dennis Quaid.
Oh, there we go.
Yeah.
Everything ties together.
For me, maybe he's not this generation's version, maybe he's the same generation, but Nicolas Cage and David Patrick Kelly I feel like are similar because
You think they've got a similar energy?
I don't know about energy. I just feel like the decisions maybe that they make in their when they're exploring character sometimes can feel a little abstract, but it makes total sense in terms of what they're trying to convey, or at least to them. At least that they've thought about it and they've made these decisions in the interest of character and story.
He's not above vehicle theft, though.
No, he's not, because as soon as he jumps out of the car, he nicks that sweet motorbike, doesn't he? A scrambler.
And then we get a really odd chase out of nowhere.
Yeah, it's weird. And I enjoyed the chase. I thought it was actually done quite well.
I did too, but it felt like it was from a different movie.
It didn't work in the film. Again, like the sex scene, we've got to have a sex scene. So, we've got to have a chase.
Yeah.
It was odd. Like, apparently they hired the cars and they didn't tell the rental company that it was for a car chase on a movie.
Oh, Jesus.
Yeah, you actually see Dennis Quaid on the bike as well, and there's that bit where he's riding off and it wobbles a bit, and I don't know if that may not have been him because it was shot from the back, but just front stuff you see him riding that bike, and it's pretty great. And they do a sweet jump. But it is odd.
I hated the sweet jump, I'll be honest. It was so weirdly convenient. And look, he's just fallen into all of these bales of hay that happen to be sitting there.
Well, not only that, it's like, why has someone built a ramp?
Yeah.
Just wide enough for a bike to get over, the railings and then down the stairs. And then that's just where they store the bales of hay, as you say.
That convenient little cushion there.
Yeah.
Tripe.
Yeah. The bloke whose motorbike that Alex stole is voiced by the director, Joe Rubin. It's like, hey, that's my bike, or something like that.
Oh, okay.
Like acting. Like, he's giving notes to actors. He's like, look, this is what you got to do. He's like, look, I'll show you it's done. Hey, that's my bike.
Acting.
Yeah. So Inception, it's an idea that he had bouncing around in his head for the longest time. I think he wrote an 80-page version around 2002.
Yeah.
I think just after maybe Insomnia.
I did read Insomnia's one I haven't seen, actually. I know that wasn't quite as well received.
No, that's decent.
Is it?
I would recommend you watch that,
Okay. Yeah, I'm starting to think maybe his earlier stuff is more my speed.
Maybe.
But yeah, I read also that he anticipated it being a quicker job than it ended up being, and that I think it took almost 8 years to complete.
Yeah, so I think he was always interested in the dream logic and
Yeah.
that sort of thing, and wanted to make a film based around that. And when he wrote this 80-page script, I believe maybe they had the working title of Dream Stealers, something like
Okay.
that. And he was inspired by films like films that we've spoken about this very season, funnily enough.
Okay.
The Matrix, Dark City, The 13th Floor.
Interesting.
Funnily enough, the TV show Freddy's Nightmares.
Really?
I've heard him cite that as a reference point. Yeah, something that he enjoyed, I guess, when he was younger and made him think about dreams in a certain
Yeah.
way. And I would say for me, it's probably the Nightmare on Elm Street movies is when I first kind of noticed the use of dreams in movies, certainly, because I was way too young when I saw one of those movies in the franchise, which we may talk about. Yeah, so he had the idea years and years and years before it actually got made. It was like 10 years or so. But I think he felt that it was too large of a project to take on, given that in dreams you can do anything you want. He thought maybe, I should hone my craft a bit more. And do you know what? I'm going to take it easy and make a Batman movie. No one cares about Batman, do they?
Oh yeah, no, there isn't a huge fan base for that property.
I suppose at that point, though, they're coming off the back of Batman and Robin. It's like, well, you could do a shit on the floor.
That's true.
And that'd be more entertaining than Batman and Robin.
Yeah, that is true. Yeah, I can understand that perspective. I think maybe that notion is why some of the other films we've covered this season were a little bit hamstrung, because they didn't have the budgets to fulfill the anything goes dreamscape kind of a world. So maybe that was a good call on his part.
Yeah, I think 100% is the right call. And that's what I've read. It could be a bit of studio going, really? You've just made Insomnia, which did fine.
Yeah.
We're not going to give you 200 million for Inception. Not yet. But so it was probably a bit of both, really.
Mm-hmm.
But he had an 80-page treatment and it developed over the 10 years. But it didn't really start taking it seriously until after The Dark Knight had come out, and then spent 6 months refining that script, and Warner Brothers bought it off him as a spec script. Many refer to this film as the holy grail of films about dreams.
Sure.
It certainly might be the highest grossing, which we'll touch on a little bit later on. But if you were a human being on a planet Earth in 2010, chances are that you saw Inception.
I didn't.
Unless you're Sarah. And for some reason, a person that sees everything at the cinema didn't go to see the thing that everybody went to see. That's so unlike you.
It's not, when you consider my oppositional defiance.
Yeah.
If everybody tells me it's really, really good, I tend to wait a while.
Yeah.
I'll see it on my terms, thanks.
Oh, I'm well aware of your disagreeable nature. But Inception, so it's Christopher Nolan's 4th highest grossing movie of all time at time of recording.
4th highest grossing?
4th highest.
Behind what?
Surprises you? You thought it'd be higher?
I did, yeah.
So what do you think's at number 1, if you had to guess, out of...
Mr. Batman?
It is a Batman.
Which Batman?
Have a guess.
The Dark Knight?
No.
The Dark Knight Rises?
Yes. Yeah, it was the end of the trilogy. That one made $1.11 billion.
That's so much money.
It's a lot of money.
That's higher than I can count by a long shot.
You could count to $1 billion.
No, I couldn't, because I'd get bored at like 15.
True, okay. But if you had the time. Number 2 spot is The Dark Knight, which made just over $1 billion. Number 3, movie that came out last year, Oppenheimer.
Of course.
953 million. So casting wise then, so we've already mentioned it's got Leonardo DiCaprio and Joseph Gordon-Levitt, but did you know that Brad Pitt and Will Smith were offered the role of Dom?
I didn't.
Apparently Brad Pitt didn't get back to Christopher Nolan within the allotted 48 hours requested. And Will Smith was on an acting break.
Okay.
Which...
2010.
Yeah, apparently between 2008 and 2012 he was on a break to spend more time with his family. Okay. And that worked out well.
I'm saying nothing.
It's still jokes. It's just jokes. It doesn't matter. He's never going to listen to this. Apparently Nolan had always wanted DiCaprio, but sent out those kind of invitations to those two just as a backup. Yeah, sure, Nolan, sure.
That's what he told Leonardo DiCaprio.
Course, you have to. You're dealing with egos here. You
Yes.
have to massage them very gently, but not let them know that you're massaging them. But once Leonardo DiCaprio was secured, he and Nolan worked together to develop the emotional centre of the film. There wasn't much of that apparently at that point, and Nolan was kind of at a stage where he was sort of pulling his hair out a bit. He couldn't quite crack it. He couldn't quite get the emotional centre of the film. And I think what he did was write it around DiCaprio, and I gather they had conversations about, what makes Dom tick, and they built it around that.
Well, you know how Nolan adds an emotional centre to his films, don't you? Dead wife.
Dead wife.
It's always a dead wife.
Yeah, he was like, Leo, what if you had a dead wife? Leo's like, I love it. How old is she?
26? No, I'm out.
She's got to be younger. That's the most unbelievable part of this movie. A film we spoke about earlier on in the season, Dreamscape, and I've not heard Christopher Nolan cite Dreamscape specifically as a reference point.
But I mean, the people entering other people's dreams.
Yeah. And more the shared dream of it situation. And there's this magic box that allows you to get into people's dreams.
Oh my God, Christopher Nolan, cast David Patrick Kelly in your next movie, please.
Oh, I would love to see that collaboration.
Right?
And I think that he's actually would be very interesting. Like, he can be quite abstract with his performances. And I think that's sometimes what Nolan's movies are missing. I can't believe I'm saying they're not abstract enough. Tenet's not abstract enough.
Said nobody ever.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh God, David Patrick Kelly. Yes, please.
Right?
Yeah. But I like to think that Inception is a sequel to Dreamscape because it's the technology that was made popular by Max von Sydow or developed by him and Dennis Quaid. And then the military took over that equipment, and then it eventually became banned or whatever, and people using it are baddies or whatever. But yeah, so
and then they enlisted Lucas Haas.
And then they enlisted
Witness.
Interestingly,
oh God, go on.
This was going to be my other example. This could be a shared universe with Witness.
How?
So right, my thoughts are Samuel Lapp, which is Lucas Haas's character,
of course,
in Witness.
Yeah.
Samuel Lapp went on to live for just another 3 months, sadly, before he fell into a wood chipper. But then when that happened, he died and he woke up and he was in the Inception universe.
And he was in the Pussy Posse.
He was in the Pussy Posse. Yeah. And then someone stabbed him for being in the Pussy Posse. And then he woke up again and realised he was in the Inception universe. And his name was Nash, and he was a 39-year-old man helping to inceptionize people. And grassing up Leonardo DiCaprio and his team to Ken Watanabe.
Dirty scoundrel. What a grass.
If Ken Watanabe is asking me questions, I'm being fucking honest to Ken Watanabe.
I guess, yeah.
I'm not fucking with that guy.
You've got a point there.
Yeah. Yeah. So Dreamscape and Witness. This is a sequel to both of those movies.
It's not what I anticipated that you would say, but I shouldn't be surprised.
You didn't think I was going to bring up Witness?
We already brought it up. Twice is too many times.
Oh, dear me. Dear me. We've made it to the end of it. No, that was way too dick and dumb, wasn't it?
Bogies!
Bogies. Bogies. Did you know that they're DJs now?
Are they?
So they popped up on my TikTok the other day and they were doing a sick set. And they were like, do you remember when Oki used to drop this in the 90s? And they were like jumping up and down on the stage. It was marvellous to see because I loved Bogies back in the day.
Bogies was classic.
And now I'm like, I want to go and see them. But let's be honest, it's probably only going to be like Butlins or something.
Potentially.
It's got Butlins written all over it. And I'm here for it, but I mean, I'm probably not going to go to Butlins. Let's be honest.
I can't think of a better place to go and play bogies, to be honest.
That's true. That is true. Do you know what? I'm just going to keep this intro in. We haven't actually spoken about the film yet that we're covering today.
No, not even a little bit.
No. But we have made it to the end of another season, and it would have been remiss of me, or I would have been remiss, or it would have been remiss. I'm not quite sure how to use that phrase in a sentence.
It would have been remiss.
It would have been remiss of me to not include a Nightmare on Elm Street movie.
Yeah, you little sneak. You sneak.
Why is that sneaky?
You kept it for the end. You kept us all waiting.
Yeah, of course. I mean, we're not talking about the first Nightmare on Elm Street movie.
No, that would be too straightforward for you.
Yeah. We're not talking about the super straight sequel, Nightmare on Elm Street 2.
The definitely not gay sequel with zero subtext, okay?
Yeah, but I'm sure we'll get to it one day.
Yeah, for sure.
Both of those, in fact.
Mm-hmm.
No, today, you know it because you've seen the episode title, we're talking about A Nightmare on Elm Street Part 3,
Dream
Warriors.
Warriors. I love that we didn't even rehearse that.
Yes.
I could see you, like,
Oh, could you?
kind of revving up for it. And I was
Yeah.
like, fuck it, I'm going to join in.
Putting my lips up, like scratching the floor with my foot and stuff. Yeah, Nightmare on Elm Street 3 Dream Warriors, released in 1987.
Yeah.
We've covered 4 movies. This is our 4th movie we've covered from that year now. But what do you think we've covered from 1987?
I was dreading that. As soon as you said there were 4. Was Near Dark one of them?
Yep. Ding, ding.
What else have we done? 87. Give me a clue.
Alan Silvestri.
Oh, Predator.
Yeah, Predator.
Okay.
There's one more apart from Dream Warriors. Think early shoot a hostage. Think early, think season 1.
Season 1.
Yeah.
I can't remember that far back. Drop me a clue.
There are many
Oh,
sequels.
a Police Academy movie. Right, okay.
Which one?
I don't know. What was the first one? 84?
Yep.
So like 4?
Yep.
Because they were
Correct.
really cranking them out in the early days.
It's the hot air balloon with
Sharon Stone, yeah.
Horror movie. This is a horror movie.
Yes.
There haven't been that many horrors in this season.
Not as many as you would think.
Not as many as would be in Sarah's seasons.
No.
1987, I was looking at the year.
Mm-hmm.
Good year for horror.
87?
Yeah.
Yeah, it was.
Like, unbelievable. Some absolute classics. We've already mentioned Near Dark and Predator.
Yep.
Prince of Darkness.
Yep.
The Monster Squad.
Love it.
The Gate.
Also love it.
The Hidden.
Don't know it.
I sounded familiar, so I wrote it down.
The Hidden. No, I don't know that one.
But not to mention The Lost Boys
Yeah, of course.
and Hellraiser
Yep.
and Evil Dead 2.
Banging.
Which actually, this movie has a connection with Evil Dead 2.
It does.
Which
I
will-
think I know about this.
Good. Well, we'll
Mm.
get to that later then.
Okay.
So, when did you first see A Nightmare on Elm Street Part 3?
Well, I feel like I've already said this on the podcast, but Nightmare on Elm Street, the first one, was probably the first horror movie that I watched all the way through.
Mm.
I would have been 13. I was a latecomer to the genre, but I don't think I watched the sequels until I was in my 20s because I just don't think they were as readily available to me, to a teenager that grew up in a religious household.
Yeah, that's fair. I think the access I had to them was like someone had the VHS or they were recorded off the telly or something.
Yeah, like we didn't have Sky or anything.
Yeah.
I grew up in hardship like Rishi Sunak.
Not like Rishi Sunak.
But I also didn't have Sky.
I know, it's such what a terrible upbringing you must have had. You
Traumatic.
and Rishi should form a support group. Also, Robert Englund wrote a draft of Elm Street 3 very early in the process, I believe. He named his one was called Freddy's Funhouse.
Okay.
And he said in one of those Talking Heads interviews that I can't remember if we watched it together or it's one that I saw on my own, but he wanted more backstory. I was looking on Wikipedia as well about this, and apparently in his idea was that Freddy claims 1428 Elm Street as his own in a dream world and sets up traps like Nancy did in the first movie. But interestingly, ideas from that script apparently got recycled and used for the pilot of Freddy's Nightmares.
Oh, the TV show?
The pilot, yeah.
Oh, okay. Interesting.
Yeah,
Was Pat Sharp in it?
I think he was. Yeah, I think he was. I think there was bedrooms made out of foam and
Sounds
little
great.
go-karts in it as well. It's great.
That's
It
the
was-
mashup we all need.
I've heard it was a whole lot of fun and there were prizes to be won. It was a really crazy show. Guess who else wrote a draft?
I don't know.
John Saxon.
Did he?
Yeah. So he wanted to explore the past, but in his version, Freddy was actually framed by the Manson family. And when a lynch mob forces Freddy to confess, like a false confession, they burn him. So the reveal was going to be that he was actually innocent.
Oh my God. I
Mm.
love the true crime connection.
Yeah, I think it's an interesting idea.
Again, maybe ahead of its time.
Yeah, but these are ideas that you could use in other ways. though.
Yeah.
And I'm surprised they didn't go back to something like that, especially towards the end of Elm Street when they're probably getting the end of the run, you know, sort of number 6.
Getting a bit tired.
Yeah, like, what? Let's revisit this idea, and maybe that would breathe new life into it. Yeah, it's
Oh.
a fascinating idea, I thought. And I had no idea that he'd written a draft of this until I sort of started researching things.
What a guy.
What a guy. We're back for a brand new season. This time, Sarah, it's your choice of theme.
It is. It should really be me starting the show, I suppose.
I mean, we can make that a thing if you like. If you want to do the intro for...
I'm
don't you
not very
go for
good at it. You're the intro man.
Not the intro man.
Why am I trying to take this away from you?
I'm quite happy if you want to do the hosting duties for your seasons. That would make sense. You
I could give it a go.
now, or do you want to prepare for the next one?
No, I prepare.
You prepare.
I prefer unprepared and flying by the seat of my pants.
Well, why don't you fly by the seat of your pants right now?
Not literally. That's not what that means.
Yeah, that's the one thing I didn't think was literal. Imagine if you could actually fly.
Which pants? They'd have to be special pants, presumably.
Yeah, magic pants, obviously.
Yeah, not all pants
Like
could do
that.
that.
Like that story where you've got the magic... Was it a magic flying chair? Do you remember that story?
What? A
Oh, I
magic
don't know.
flying chair?
Yeah, there was like this chair and the kids sat in a chair and it flew around and they loved it. And that's all I can remember
I
about.
think that might have been a dream. If anybody else knows what the hell Dan is talking about, please write in.
I can't think of any children's writers that I would have read. Roald Dahl. Was it Roll?
Rolled.
Roald Dahl. Others.
Is that it?
Yeah. I think not people that I would have read when I was a kid anyway. I don't know. Magic flying chair anyway. I don't know why I was talking about that because I've just remembered because flying by the seat of our pants.
Yeah, there are no pants, there is no flying, there's no magic of any kind in this show, I'm afraid.
Yeah.
There is some telekinesis, however, because we're covering Brian De Palma's 1976 Carrie.
Yes. Not the 1988 musical. Not the 1999 sequel, The Rage,
Oh, God.
Carrie 2.
Ugh.
Not the 2013 Chloe Grace Moretz remake.
No, however, I did watch that a few weeks back.
Did you?
I did.
That was sneaky.
Yeah.
When did you do that?
When you weren't here.
Oh, that's
I
very
think you were
sneaky.
raving in a field.
You kept that from me. To be fair, you probably could have texted me at the time, told me you were watching Carrie, and I'd have no memory of
And
that.
you were having deep in conversation with a tree somewhere.
Mm.
Yeah.
Mm.
I figured.
Mm.
But yeah, I thought it'd be nice to kind of compare and contrast a little bit as well because I'd seen the remake before and I didn't care for it. I thought I would give it a second chance because sometimes my opinion can change dramatically from one viewing to another. It did not in
Okay.
this instance. I still think it's a pile of shit.
It's a big pile of poo-poo, is it?
Yes,
Big-
I think so.
Big DVD doody.
Scoop diddy poop.
Scoop diddy poop. We have covered two others
You're
from
going to make me
1976.
try and guess.
Do you want a clue?
Yeah.
They were both your choices.
Oh, no.
Because of course they were. They're
From
70s,
the 70s,
movies.
Yeah. Oh shit, 76.
1976.
Assault on Precinct 13.
Yes, one.
Oh no, Warriors wasn't 76.
No.
No, I need a clue. I need more of a clue.
See these eyes so green or red, whatever he says in that song. Who's that?
Well, that's David Bowie.
Right. So what?
Oh,
David-
The Man Who Fell to Earth.
Hey.
Oh God, I've been at work all day. I'm not quite with it.
Yeah. So this is our third movie from 1976.
Good year.
Good year, considering this is episode, 57? And we've already
Yeah.
done 3 from 1976. It's funny, like, the more that we go on with this podcast, there are a few years. 84 is one that always stood out to me just because of the bangers that were released. Some of my favourite movies were released in that year. But
87 we've talked about quite a bit as well.
yeah, and especially as far as horror is concerned, that was a banger of a year. So 76 is definitely going to be in the top 3 or 5 probably years that we've done so far.
One for the books. It's also the year my parents got married.
Ooh, okay.
Yeah.
Interesting. Did they watch Carrie at the reception?
I'm going to go out on a limb and say no. I wasn't there, obviously, so I can't tell you.
Well, no, because you were not born yet.
I wasn't even an idea at that
No.
point. But knowing my parents, I would be very surprised.
That's a wedding I would go to.
Yeah, same.
Like, gladly. Cast in this, we've got obviously Sissy Spacek as Carrie White, Piper Laurie as Margaret White, Amy Irving as Sue Snell,
Yep.
Nancy Allen as Officer Lewis, PJ Souls.
No, you're thinking of the wrong movie.
Oh, no, all movies are RoboCop.
Okay.
PJ Souls as Norma, William Catt as Tommy, Betty Buckley as Miss Collins. They're the main players. Am I
Yeah.
missing anyone?
Well, John Travolta.
Who?
I think he's famous for Battlefield Earth.
Right. Is that his most famous role, is it?
I believe so, yeah.
Because I thought that had Nicolas Cage in it.
No, you're thinking of something else.
Right, okay. Okay. Cast-wise, it sticks out to me is obviously Sissy Spacek. Obviously a really great performance.
Well, she was Oscar nominated.
Right, okay.
I think Piper Laurie was as well.
Yeah, Piper Laurie of The Faculty, you tell me.
Well, that's what you
informed
would
me.
know her from. Yeah.
Yeah, I had no idea. I think it was a really good choice for this theme. I think it was a really good way of opening a season.
Oh.
I like how we finished on a horror last season and we started on a horror this season, whether or not you consider this a horror.
I do.
Yes, I do too. But
What else would you consider it? And don't say period drama. I'll hit you.
I didn't. You said it. No. Yeah, I think this is a really nice way to open up to begin the season.
Do you want to know what we're doing next week?
I do want to know what we're doing next week.
Well, not to sound a bit redundant, but we're covering a Stephen King adaptation.
Oh, on purpose?
On purpose.
Two Kings in a row.
We hadn't done one until episode 57.
And now we're doing all of them.
Yeah.
And I'm assuming episode 3 is the Langoliers?
No, the Tommyknockers.
Of course.
No, next week we're doing Stand By Me.
Darling, darling. That one.
Yes.
Oh, I can't stand this movie.
I know, but it's my season, so it doesn't matter.
Right.
Maybe you'll have a newfound appreciation for this one.
I'm going to go in as blank as I can.
Okay.
And with my reappraisal hat on.
Open your mind.
Open your mind. All right, you've got me with a quote. I'm in. When did you first see Stand By Me? Did you see it when you was a child?
I did.
And did you like it when you were a child?
I loved it, yeah.
Really?
When did you first happen upon this?
Also as a child.
Why are you saying child so weird?
I don't know. I think I saw it at a sleepover. I want to say at my cousin's house. I don't remember much. I remember the leeches.
Everybody remembers the leeches, yeah. Horrifying.
Yeah, I remembered almost nothing. I didn't love it when I was a kid. I think I tended to avoid it if it was on inevitably on a Sunday and people were flicking through onto Channel 5. Oh, Stand By Me's on. Oh, I'm getting up then, going to my room. So I think I saw it once when I was a kid and didn't really ever sort of revisit it again.
So what, had you only seen this one time before?
I think so. Maybe
Wow.
I'd seen scenes and bits and bobs over and over, like I say, when people are flicking through TV and you see, oh, it's that bit with the gun thing. And also it's one of those, and this happens a lot, just one of those movies that just is the coming of age movie that everyone loves, as you mentioned earlier. And so it's just in pop culture. It's this shining light of coming of age movies that everyone kind of looks to and references, much like the Goonies and, other things like that.
And other films starring Corey Feldman.
Yes.
So do you think you have a resistance to films that are massive? Like you say, people talk about it a lot, people reference it. Do you think that influences your opinion of it? Makes you like it less?
I don't know, probably.
I know you hate the Ben E. King song.
Yeah.
You've been talking about that a lot this
I
last
can't
week.
bear it. It's just whenever it goes boom, boom, I'm like, oh no, I feel like my ears are going to explode.
It's only in the credits.
It's not because
Well, there's like instrumental versions of it.
Yeah, it's the first fucking thing you hear when
But
the movie
it's-
starts. It's got the little clarinet. It's going.
Yeah, but it's a nice, gentle
Oh, yeah.
instrumental version.
And then it's backed up by over the top of Richard Dreyfuss looking wistfully into his steering wheel, doing a little wry smile as he looks at children passing him. I'm like, fuck this movie.
Oh my God. Wow.
Should we talk about the people in this?
Yeah, let's.
So it's a stacked cast, really. You've
Yeah.
got we already mentioned Richard Dreyfuss, who's
Mhm.
sort of barely in it, really,
He
but
kind of
he's
bookends the film.
he's the bookend, and he's the older version of Gordy.
Mhm.
Younger version being played by young Will Wheaton.
Will, yes.
And he was in other things.
Star Trek.
Star Trek, yeah, and that weird movie we watched where he lives in a telly.
Rent a Pal.
I think he's great, and I would love to see him in more stuff. I think he's more of a writer now, funnily enough. Corey Feldman, who was in he was on a hot run then, wasn't he?
Yeah.
You got, Gremlins in 84?
The Burbs.
Of course, The Burbs. How could you forget The Burbs?
I love that movie. How dare you?
Jim Cummings' favourite movie.
Is it?
Mm.
I knew I liked Jim Cummings for a reason.
Yeah. Who you got? Very young Jerry O'Connell.
Yeah. And one thing that really dates this film is the fact that they keep calling Vern the fat kid.
Yeah.
This very normal-sized
Just a
boy,
regular boy
with a slightly chubby face.
Yeah. Who grew up to be Jerry O'Connell.
Yeah.
Maybe the most shredded actor on the planet. Well, probably not. There's Frank
Not
Grillo.
at the moment.
No.
But I'll love him forever for that Tom Cruise parody that he did
Oh, yeah.
years and years,
We should have
years
watched
ago.
that. We should have watched that before. That was great. He's great. He's got a really good sense of humour.
Yeah, I've seen some interviews with him lately because he's talked a bit recently about not getting so much work anymore and his struggles in the industry. And yeah, he does seem pretty cool.
Yeah, he does. He doesn't wear socks with shoes though, so probably a bad guy. That's how you know, isn't it?
As long as he's not wearing Crocs, we're fine.
Yeah. We discussed this earlier. You can wear Crocs if you're in a medical. Let's not alienate.
In the medical
Crocs
field,
wearing
that's
this.
fine, excusable.
And of course, River Phoenix.
Yeah.
Who plays Chris? I can't believe how young he is in this movie, and I suppose it applies to all kids really. But the difference between him in this and what's the movie we watched recently at the cinema?
My Own Private Idaho.
Yeah, the difference in age just looks like a completely different bloke. But just such a talent. I think he was meant to be in The Basketball Diaries.
It's so funny you say that because every time I think about River Phoenix and every time I see Leo DiCaprio, I'm just like, you fuck face. River Phoenix should have had your career.
Yeah.
And I think he probably would have done had he not died at such a young age.
I think so, because DiCaprio does make, you would say, probably good choices. I would say,
yeah.
It's maybe a bit samey, but he's working with Scorsese a lot. I would think that probably Scorsese would like to have worked with River Phoenix. He was such a talent. I think the thing I know him most from, to be honest, though, is The Last Crusade.
Yeah, of course, young Indy,
and he is just incredible. As it like to the point where I kind of want to keep watching this movie.
Yeah.
And I remember thinking that as a kid. Like, I was so looking forward to that movie, and it just absolutely blew me away. And there was no one better at that time to play that role.
And then they did Young Indiana Jones Chronicles, and it was Sean Patrick Flannery.
That's right.
Which was a disappointment.
Yeah.
But yeah, I have sung from the hilltops my love for River Phoenix. I was obsessed with him when I was that age.
Who wasn't?
Definitely sort of tore magazines apart and put pictures on my wall when I was about 12.
Yeah, Blue Tack, ruined the wallpaper.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Who else?
Bradley Gregg.
Who else?
This before we get on to Marshall Bell.
You know where I'm going.
Yeah, I know you. Bradley Gregg. I think Bradley Gregg is the actor that we've covered most of so far, their films. This is our third Bradley Gregg movie.
For real?
Completely accidentally, yeah.
What else?
Fire in the Sky.
Oh.
And Nightmare on Elm Street, Part 3. Dream
I'm not doing
Warrior.
it again. We've done it twice.
Well, 3 times it becomes funny again. And you keep doing it. Yeah, it's our third Bradley Gregg movie. I think, honestly,
strange.
It's the actor we've spoken about most. Yeah, it is weird. And of course, he plays a character called Eyeball Chambers. That's stuck in my head. We get into Marshall Bell now, who is, of course, Quato in Total Recall and the mad military guy in Starship Troopers. That's how I know him.
And the coach in Nightmare on Elm Street too.
Of course he is, yeah, of course. We mentioned this the other day, is the coach that gets spanked with the wet towel. I love that movie. It's great. Is that it for the cast? Who else we got?
Well, a blink and you'll miss it, John Cusack.
Oh yeah, he's in this movie.
Mm.
That's bizarre. I don't think I knew that when we sat down to watch it. I don't think I really became aware of him until like Grosse Point Blank. He was not really on my radar. I never saw any of those 80s movies that he was in.
Right, okay.
Until later.
I think 16 Candles was probably a year before this.
Right.
So he'd been acting a little bit.
Yeah.
But yeah, it wasn't until the late 80s when he started doing stuff like Better Off Dead, The Sure Thing.
Yeah.
Say Anything.
None of these films I saw when I was a kid or was even aware of, really.
Crazy.
Yeah. Because I think that's when I saw Grosse Point Blank. I was like, oh, it's James Cusack's brother.
Did you?
Yeah, because I knew her from Adam's Family Values.
As if you knew Joan Cusack before
I think
John.
I did. Yeah.
How strange.
Do you relate to any of these kids, these characters?
Do I relate to them?
Yeah. Is there anything in them that you can see in yourself?
I mean, I would definitely have been Vern, wouldn't I?
Yeah.
Clumsy, saying the wrong thing, getting picked on, falling over, just being a general liability. Yeah, I'm Vern. What about you?
I think I'm also Vern.
Oh no.
Well, the reason I say that is because there's that scene where at the start of the movie where he's buried some pennies under the house. And it reminded me of when I was a kid and I was at the beach and I buried a £1 coin.
God.
I didn't make myself a treasure map. That was the problem. But I lost it immediately and I couldn't find it. So I couldn't see the little puppet show. And I was devastated.
Oh, no Punch and Judy for you.
Yeah. So I'll probably relate to Vern, I would say.
Okay.
What are we doing next week?
I'm going straight back to horror.
Of course you are.
And we're covering... I wrestled with this choice and I had something else in this slot for a while.
Okay.
But I took that out and I put back in Ginger Snaps.
Oh, okay. Interesting.
One of my favourite Canadian horror movies.
Yeah.
I do like a werewolf flick.
Is it a werewolf movie?
It is.
Is that a spoiler?
No.
Are they swearwolves?
They're not, no.
Peter.
So, Dan, we're back to talk more coming of age movies.
Yep.
We're here to talk at length about periods again.
Oh yeah, this season could also be called the period season, right? Apart from Stand By Me, there were no periods in Stand By Me.
There were no periods in Stand By Me, no. This film does share a lot of DNA with Carrie.
Yeah, I'd agree with that.
But of course, we are covering 2000's Ginger Snaps, directed by John Fawcett, a Canadian horror film that I love dearly.
Spoilers.
And that you have seen.
Oh, no, I have seen it. Yes, I have seen it, and I shall attempt to talk about it.
Yeah.
And try and get my feelings about it out.
So that's good. That's what we're here to do.
Yeah.
Excellent.
Is this the first film that we've covered that's named after a biscuit?
I believe so. I can't think of another.
Way of the Gun. No, it's not a type of biscuit, is it? Mars Attacks is confectionery, kind of, because of that chocolate bar. Mars. Yeah. And it's a planet, to be fair.
Yeah. Mars Attacks refers to the planet. I'm pretty sure it wasn't like chocolate bars attack.
That's why that movie was so disappointing. You'll hear that in our review of the show back in season 3? Aliens? Yes.
I can't really remember.
I think it was season 3, yeah.
It's been ages. It's kind of amazing that the Canadian horror scene doesn't get talked about more because actually when you sit down and you look at it, it's pretty impressive.
Yeah, and it's funny how we've picked a few of them without really thinking about it as well.
Yeah.
I guess that's going to make doing a Canadian horror season a bit more difficult.
Maybe. I don't think we're going to get to a specific Canadian horror season for quite some time.
No, and if we did, it would probably be your choice.
Yeah, almost certainly.
I'll do Canadian sci-fi. How about that?
Okay.
Do Cube too. No, we're not doing
Hypercube. No.
I'm not watching Hypercube again.
So, in terms of Ginger Snaps,
the snack.
No,
or the movie.
The movie that we're here to discuss.
We should have bought Ginger Snaps.
We should have done.
Had Ginger Snaps while we were recording this.
We should. Shoulda, woulda, coulda, but didn't.
No, I always think of these things too late. I like Ginger Snaps.
Oh my God. So, to me, this film is kind of akin to Midnight Mass.
In what way?
in the way that when I watched Midnight Mass, I couldn't believe that nobody had sort of thought to tie Catholicism and vampirism and like the blood of Christ and all of this sort of stuff
in such an intrinsic way
together in such a fantastic literal and metaphorical way.
Yeah.
And the same is true here. Like the notion of puberty and the transformation that comes with it is so, like, it's so obvious to pair that with werewolves that it's kind of amazing it hadn't really been done before.
Yeah.
And we're not going to talk about Teen Wolf. I don't want to hear anything about Teen Wolf before you even say it.
Ask you about other coming of age werewolf movies, and that's the only other one I could think of.
Yeah.
Teen Wolf and Teen Wolf 2, the Jason Bateman movie.
Yeah.
Which I really want to watch.
Why?
Because I'm curious.
Have you never seen the second one?
I think so. Yeah, I must have, because I remember those movies being done just all the time.
Yeah.
Ad nauseum when we were kids.
But it's crazy to me that hadn't been linked before.
Yeah, it is funny. Like you say, Midnight Mass is a really good comparison because it seems, you watch it and you go, of course, like it's so obvious.
It is, yeah.
They go together like chalk and chalk. And the same is true with the werewolf and the growing up situation in terms of these two young women, Bridget and Ginger.
Yes.
And you've got the whole lunar cycle, monthly cycle thing. I think at some point they had toyed around with the idea of calling this The Curse, the movie.
Okay.
And she says that in the film, I've got the curse. But sticking with kind of the beginning of the movie and the pairing of, let's do some names.
Catherine Isabel.
Catherine Isabel.
And Emily Perkins.
And Emily Perkins, yeah. Who are really weirdly linked in a way. Did you find out anything about this?
Well, I read that the casting directors were looking for people to fill those roles for about 6 months.
Yeah.
And they were kind of at their wits' end. And then both Perkins and Isabel went to audition on the same day, which I thought was quite interesting.
Yeah.
They must have thought they'd struck gold.
Well, apparently they were born in the same hospital.
Okay.
They're 5 years apart, but they're born in the same hospital.
Oh, yeah, because Emily Perkins is actually the older one, isn't she? Even though she plays the younger sister.
Oh, is she?
Yeah.
Oh, I did not know that. Oh, okay. They went to the same school. Their parents were friends.
No way.
They had the same agent. Did you know that they've both been in a Stephen King TV adaptation?
I knew Emily Perkins was in the original It miniseries.
Yep.
She was OG Beverly.
Yep, that's right.
What's Catherine Isabel been in?
She was in something we spoke about in episode 1 of our coming of age season, Carrie. She was in a TV adaptation of Carrie that we spoke about. The TV
right.
movie.
The one with Angela Bettis. Okay.
Sure. Yeah, that one.
Interesting.
They were both in Supernatural at various points.
I knew that, yeah.
And they were both in Christopher Nolan's Insomnia.
Really?
Yes.
Wow.
Randomly, yeah.
Okay. They make such good siblings in this movie.
They're really good. Perkins is great.
Fantastic.
And, I mean, there's things in this movie that are really good, like the special effects, the makeup. Less so the wig.
Her wig is so bad.
But
I've always thought that. I think so obvious.
She should have gotten an Oscar for putting in a performance as good as that with that fucking hairpiece on her.
Yeah.
I thought she was excellent. Doesn't act anymore, you were saying. It's not an actor.
I don't know. I feel like, God, this is going back maybe like 10 years ago when I was doing one of my IMDb hopping episodes where I was like, ginger snaps, and just going from profile to profile.
Yeah, I'm aware of that.
Yep. And I seem to remember reading that she'd not necessarily given up acting, but had stopped for the time being and was working as a lecturer at a university in the UK.
In the UK?
Yeah.
Oh, we could go to one of her lectures, maybe.
Maybe.
I wonder if it's like film or English or something.
I honestly don't know. I don't have the full details, but yeah.
Yeah. Okay. I looked at her credits in preparation for this, and I think the last thing that I would have seen her in was that god awful alien movie with Michael Ironside called Extraterrestrial, which is worth watching
for one scene
alone, where your jaw will fall on the floor.
Yeah.
But it's hilarious.
Yes.
But apart from that, yes, toilet. Yeah,
Oh,
she was
yeah,
She was
at
in
the
that.
beginning.
I don't remember her, or while I was watching it, didn't make those links with Ginger Snaps at all. But
she was
in it.
right at the beginning, and she runs into the phone booth,
Right.
if
Okay.
I remember rightly.
Yeah.
Mm. I'd forgotten that film until you just said
I
that.
think about it way too much,
Yeah, Catherine Isabel's kind of a bit of a horror movie icon, thanks to roles like this. Obviously, we've already mentioned American Mary, which she's fantastic in.
That's her movie.
I love that
Yeah.
film. Freddy vs. Jason. She's also been in, I think the Soska sisters did a movie with a wrestler in it. I think they did like a WWE movie. It's a horror film. I think it was called See No Evil,
Okay.
but I'm pretty sure she was in that, or perhaps the sequel. But yeah, she's kind of remained in the genre for a lot of her career.
Yeah.
So she seems to be well loved amongst horror fans.
Okay.
Quite rightly.
Probably always at a con.
Yes.
Always signing her name. How many times do you reckon she signed her name? 100? At least.
At least 100, yeah. At least 7. What are we doing next week, Dan?
What, you're asking me, are you? Okay.
Yeah.
We are doing a movie. What is a coming of age movie? What is called... Is it Moonlight? Are we doing Moonlight next week?
Yes.
Oh, thank God. Okay. I thought I was going to have to do
You're
some
the one
creative-
with the spreadsheets.
I haven't got it right here, though, have I? That's what I said. We need a screen.
We
so
do,
we can just
yeah.
look up this stuff and go, oh, we can go, hey, Tim, can you look this up for me? And then I'll do it. Like, but we'll pretend we've
We'll
got
pretend that we've got a producer, shall
called,
we?
called Tim. Yeah. Yeah, Moonlight,
Well, curiously, this is one that you've seen and I haven't,
which is quite rare.
Yeah.
That hardly ever happens.
especially in seasons that I program.
Yeah.
So I'm excited.
Yeah, good. It's a 2016 movie.
Mm-hmm.
We've done 3 other movies from 2016.
Oh, no.
You know this game by now.
I should, shouldn't I? You catch me by surprise every single time.
Every time you're like, oh no, this thing again. Like, yeah, the thing we do every time.
Oh, okay.
Can you go on, name them? 3. Do-do-do.
Don't breathe.
Ding.
There's 3 more.
There's 2 more.
There's 2 more. Revenge? No, we haven't covered Revenge.
We've not covered Revenge, Sarah.
I've covered that twice, but never on this podcast. On other podcasts.
Not for the only podcast that matters or is important.
Oh, give me a clue.
Maybe I want to heist banks because I'm.
Oh, Hell or High
Yes.
Water.
And do you want a clue for the other one?
Yes, please.
Human.
Ex Machina.
Not
Human.
human. You are a squid monster from outer space.
Oh,
Heptapod. And I'm Jeremy Renner in tiny glasses.
Arrival.
Yes. God, that was laboured, wasn't it?
That, yes. Talk about excruciating.
It's the 4th movie from 2016 that we've covered, so it seems like we quite like that year,
Apparently.
or at least we've accidentally covered. This is our 4th movie that we've covered from that year. But you haven't seen Moonlight before, correct?
I've seen it now. Don't worry. Don't panic. It's not the sort of thing I would normally gravitate towards, but it was a film that had been spoken about so highly. I felt like it was becoming a bit of a blind spot. So I wanted to watch it, and I felt like this was a really good opportunity.
I totally agree. A lot of coming of age movies are kind of a bunch of kids sitting around having a chat, being a bit naughty, and then by the end of it going, oh, we're going to grow up soon. And that is the case with most of them, I would say. Obviously, this season already we've spoken about Carrie, which is more of a genre thing, of course. Stand By Me, which is a bit more traditional.
Definitely,
I
yeah.
guess. Ginger Snaps last week. You said that you quite like to diversify, but I would say that 50% of the ones we've spoken about thus far have had periods in.
Well, yeah.
And then there was also that incest season as well. Don't forget that.
Oh, come on. I realised recently I've been getting super into reading this year because I buy so many books and then they just sit on the shelf. So this year I've tasked myself with getting through as many books as possible. And I started reading Flowers in the Attic again. And the last time I read that was when I was about 13 years old. And I remember telling my teacher about it in class and she looked horrified. And then I got to the end of the book and I realised why. And I'm starting to wonder if that's like subconsciously what implanted the incest
right.
seed.
Okay.
So like, For reasons unknown, I'm drawn to things like that.
It's just one of the darkest things that you can think
It's
of, isn't it?
grim,
So
yeah.
there is to be fair to incest.
In defense of incest.
In defense of incest. You said that.
Don't sound clip that, whatever you do.
No, it's a. I mean, we spoke about that to quite some degree, and also in the wrap show of season 6. So, if you want to hear our thoughts on incest, sign up to our Patreon and listen to the season 6 wrap show.
But yeah, despite the two commonalities between our first and third picks of this season, I think they're quite diverse overall.
Yeah,
it's hard to talk about because 4 of them haven't been announced publicly yet.
He's a defender of, if we're going to explore Barry Jenkins, he's a defender of Howard the Duck.
Oh, so you love him.
I love him.
Okay.
I listened to his episode with Brett Goldstein's podcast, Films to be Buried With. The question was, what's the film that you love that is universally panned and hated? and Jenkins was like, honestly, when I was a kid, I used to watch Howard the Duck all the time, loved it, thought it was great. And then when I became older and found out that people thought it was terrible, he couldn't believe it.
Yeah.
He was like, what do you mean? What, this masterpiece? Howard the Duck?
I feel that way about Mac and Me, but I'm alone. It's just me and Paul Rudd.
I think Mac and you can't defend Mac and Me.
And yet I continue to.
Yeah. That McDonald's advert. So he's my new favourite person. He adapted Moonlight in Brussels. The original play was called...
I think it was In Moonlight, Black Boys Look Blue.
That's right.
Which is obviously a line that they kept in the movie.
Yeah. Written by Terrell Alvin McCraney. It never made it to stage, apparently.
I was going to say, I read that it was an unproduced play.
Yeah.
So what were the circumstances surrounding that then? So Barry Jenkins was supposed to direct it for the stage?
I don't know the circumstances surrounding that. That is not something that I looked at.
Okay.
I was just surprised to hear that, it wasn't actually made into a play. I guess it was just one of those screenplays that was floating around that got a lot of buzz. McCraney, I think, is quite a celebrated writer, playwright. I don't really know what playwright means, but I'm going to say
somebody who writes plays.
Somebody.
The clue is in the name, Dan.
Yeah, so it never got made. And then I think Jenkins was quite friendly with Plan B, which is Brad Pitt's production company.
Okay.
And had decided to, while he was in Brussels, adapt this into a screenplay for a film, and sort of showed it to Plan B and was like, oh, look, this is an example of my work kind of thing. They were like, well, great, let's make this then. And he was like, oh, okay, fine. So I guess we're going with this. But I think what ended up happening is the project became a really good, true reflection of both McCraney and Jenkins' childhoods.
Yeah, I did read a little bit about the fact that they're both from the same neighborhood, aren't they?
Liberty Square, yeah.
In Miami.
Yep.
Yeah. The casting was so good, it took me... I must have looked at the DVD cover 15 times before I realised it was 3 different faces.
Yeah.
That was unbelievable.
Yeah. The people that made that poster they also deserve the Oscar.
They do.
It was nominated for 8. I think it won 3.
Oh, good.
I think. Definitely Best Picture. I believe maybe... I've got no idea. Other awards.
Some other good stuff.
Best Animation. So we're at the halfway point now.
Mm-hmm.
Already, yeah. We've done 4. We've got 4 more to go.
We do.
So next week, what are we doing, Sarah?
I'm so sorry.
No,
I'm going to apologise in advance. I'm going to punish everyone because my choice for number 5 in Coming of Age season is a contender out of left field, you might say. It's Come and See.
I have not seen this movie.
Oh,
so that'll be interesting.
Ready.
Yeah, okay, great.
It is harrowing.
I can't wait. It's our 4th movie from 1985.
Oh, I always forget about this bit. 1985.
Let's get this out. Let's get this little jovial bit out of the way because let's face it, this is not going to be a laugh a minute episode. We're going to be talking about the film.
That sounds like a challenge. No, it's not.
I can hear them switching off from here. No, but this is the 4th movie from 85 that we've discussed. Can you name the other 3?
Near Dark?
No, that's 87.
Fuck. No, the music's not helping. 85? No, I can't.
Give me a
Oh,
P.
one of them's a Police Academy. Police
Yeah.
Academy 2.
Yeah.
It's always a Police
course.
Academy.
It's always Police Academy. That's one of three.
Okay. No, I need some help.
I'm Emilio Estevez and I'm crying because people just won't take me seriously and I'm going to wear a vest top.
Wait, what?
I'm going to do a little dance on a counter with other 3 teenagers.
Oh, The Breakfast Club.
Breakfast
I
Club.
completely forgot we covered The Breakfast Club. I was like, we haven't done any Emilio Estevez movies.
Oh, yes, we have.
But yeah, we have.
And
Not
we'll
only
get-
that, it was my choice.
It was your choices in your season. We'll do more other Emilio Estevez movies.
Oh, I'm sure.
Young Guns 2, Free Jack. There's one more.
Okay.
It's got Patrick Stewart in it.
Oh, Life Force.
Life Force, yes.
Well, that was kind of forgettable for me, though.
Yeah, I mean, I agree.
I'm not Toby Hooper's biggest fan, am I? You know that.
Oh, well, that's it. This is our 4th movie from 85.
Quite different to the others.
Yes, very different. Definitely covering a lot of areas there, different genres, different visions, different, you would argue, artistic merit, perhaps.
I think the only thing that this movie and any of the police academies have in common is that they have a loose connection with Russia.
Because Mission to Moscow.
Yeah. That and the scene in Come and See where 2 men spit an egg back and forth.
Oh, yeah. Of course, that unforgettable scene.
Yeah.
I had no idea that this movie was posing the question, would you kill baby Hitler? Until
Okay.
we got to the end of the movie and you turned to me and you said, what do you think about the question of killing baby Hitler? I was like, why are you asking me that? And you went, because that's what the movie's asking you. I went, is it? You went, yeah. And that's basically my experience with this movie. I suppose it's obvious when you think about it. I don't know what you would do. I don't really know what I would do. But what would you do?
It's difficult, isn't it? Because when you're talking about changing history, what else changes? Like, butterfly effect. What if even bigger atrocities were to happen?
Well, Prince Harry would never have worn that uniform.
Yeah, that was the worst thing to come out of the Second World War, wasn't it?
He learned a valuable lesson that day.
I don't know that he did, I don't think he did. Knowing that this baby would go on to cause the deaths of millions and millions of Jewish people and Black people and just people that didn't fit his picture of what he thought was correct. Yeah, I would drop kick that baby into a volcano and have a nice cup of tea.
All right. I don't know, I don't know if I could kill a baby.
It'd be dead easy. They're tiny. So, that's over and done with.
Mhm.
What are we doing next week?
I don't know. What
We
are we doing?
Are covering 13.
The Kevin, is it Kevin Costner with the
What?
he's playing is it JFK? He's playing
Are you thinking of
Cuban-
JFK?
Cuban Missile Crisis. No.
I don't know what you're talking about.
That's not a coming of age movie.
I'm
it's a
talking
comedy.
about I believe it's Catherine Hardwicke. I'm going to embarrass myself horribly if it's not. Yeah, the Catherine Hardwicke movie with Evan Rachel Wood
Okay.
and Nikki Reed.
Never heard of it.
Teenage girl shit.
Cool.
Bit of a change of pace from this week, thankfully. So we're almost in the home stretch of this season already.
6 of 8. This is number 6 of 8. I
It
believe.
is 6 of 8, which sounds like a Star Trek character.
It does, yeah. We're one number out.
Yeah. But this week, we're covering Catherine Hardwicke's 13.
Yes.
Are you going to make a joke about the fact that you haven't seen 12 yet?
I was just about to say, I'm going to find it hard to talk about this because I haven't seen the first 12.
I fucking knew it. I know you.
Yeah, thanks for pissing all over my joke there. It took me fucking ages to write that.
No, it didn't.
I was up all night with my quill last night.
With your quill.
Scribing, yeah.
Oh.
Throwing away, when you scrunch it up and you throw away a bit of paper and then you start writing again.
Oh, is that why there's so many balled up bits of paper in your office?
Yep.
Oh.
My office.
Your office.
I know how you say it's my office and it's not like just a bunk bed with a sim racing rig underneath. My office.
It's an office. It depends what kind of work you're doing.
It's a teenager's bedroom. Yeah, so 13. Haven't seen the first 12. Don't know how we're going to talk about it. Thank you. What year did this movie come out?
2003.
You know what my next question is going to be, don't you?
What else came out in 2003 that we've covered?
Yes.
Anything?
I don't remember covering anything.
Oh, come on.
What?
We've covered other stuff from 2003.
Oh, that's my question to you.
Oh, no.
Correct.
Oh, good.
It was a trick question.
Oh, excellent.
This is, however, it's the 5th movie that we've spoken about that's directed by a woman.
Only the 5th?
Only the 5th.
Oh, we need
So
to redress that balance.
We're looking at about 10% at the moment.
Wow. Okay.
Agreed, we do need to address that balance. It would be nice to get more female-directed movies in there. There's just way more movies directed by geezers. Undeniably.
By gazers.
By fellas, isn't there? But yeah, so this is the 5th film that we've spoken about that's been directed by a woman. Can you name the others?
The others wasn't directed by a woman.
We haven't covered it either.
Oh, Candyman.
Yeah, Near Costa.
No. No is the answer. I can't name them.
They're all main feed shows. Do you want a clue?
Yeah.
Salty Bath Time.
Oh, Saltburn.
Saltburn. Emerald Fennel.
That's a trick. That's a trick because it was a bonus show.
I said they're all on the main feed.
Oof, naughty. Next clue.
Severin.
Oh, Near Dark.
Near Dark.
Holy shit. How did I forget Near Dark?
How did you forget that? Catherine Bigelow. Yeah.
Damn. Send me to the naughty corner.
And there's one more. It was also a bonus show.
It was also a bonus show. I don't know.
It was Madame Dogshit.
Madam Web.
Yep.
Was directed by a woman.
Yeah. S.J. Clarkson.
Maybe we shouldn't do more female-directed films.
That's the only bad one, isn't it?
Yeah, I guess so. Some people would call Saltburn bad, but I enjoyed it.
Well, it's not on Madame Web level. I didn't mind
God,
Saltburn.
no.
I didn't love it, but Madame Web was just a
that was next level turd.
fire. Okay, another question for you.
I didn't realise this was going to be a quiz. This is a Sunday afternoon and you're making me flex my grey matter.
It's quiz time. It's quiz time.
Okay.
Movies with 13 in the title. We've covered one of them.
Have we?
Yeah. Last season.
Last season?
Yeah.
What was the theme?
Dreams.
Oh, Dreams. Oh, the 13th floor.
Correct. I know it's throwing you slightly because some of them weren't actually about dreams.
Yeah.
It's got 13 days. We haven't covered that. But
no, I was going to say, don't confuse me.
13 in total. Can you name any others?
Just films in general?
Yeah.
Ocean's 13?
Oh, that's a good one, yeah. I hadn't thought of that.
No, I don't know.
13 Ghosts?
Oh, yeah. Okay, yeah, I should have got that.
13 Fridays? Friday the 13th?
13 Fridays.
Yep. There's a few movies called Friday the 13th, I think.
Oh, there's loads. Millions of them.
13 Lives. Is that the cave one?
Oh, yeah, I think it might be.
Right, okay, yeah. And that's all I could think of.
Cool. Should we talk about 13?
Let's talk about 13.
I remember when this movie came out and I didn't go to see it at the cinema, but I did see it on home video release. I absolutely loved it. Enough that I was kind of like, oh, who's this Catherine Hardwicke lady? You know, because even 21 years ago, there were not nearly as many opportunities for women to direct as there are now.
Yeah.
And there still aren't enough now.
Yeah, it's still great, yeah.
But back then it was a lot rarer. And I just remember thinking, oh, I'm going to keep an eye out for what she does next. And then Lords of Dogtown came out a couple years later. Loved that as well. And I was like, she might be one of my new favourite directors. And then she made Twilight.
Okay.
And all my dreams were dashed.
I don't think Twilight is that bad. The first Twilight.
Is that your controversial opinion?
That's my opinion. Whether it's controversial or not, I don't know.
It's controversial in this office, yeah.
13 would have been her first movie as a writer-director.
Mm-hmm.
But she was a production designer for like 15 years or something prior to that.
Yeah.
Just a bunch of... Have you looked up her credits on IMDb?
Not prior to directing. I haven't, no.
Some of them might be of interest to
Oh,
you.
really?
Let's have a little look at what I wrote down. Between the years of 1986 and 2002, production designer. Have you heard of a movie called Brain Dead?
Wait, what?
1990. Have you heard of a movie called Brain Dead?
Are you serious? The Peter Jackson Brain Dead?
If that's 1990, then yes.
Isn't
that called something else?
Well, it's called Dead Alive in America.
Right.
So maybe it's not the same one. There is another movie called Brain Dead.
Is that from 1990?
I don't know.
She's production designer a movie called Brain Dead.
Okay.
Right, this is what I was working up to anyway. You heard of a movie called Freaked?
She did production design on Freaked.
Yeah.
Okay, she's my new favourite person again.
Yeah, I thought she might be. One for the boys, Tombstone. One for the boys.
One for the boys.
One for the boys. Gun Time, Slinky Gun Time. That's the one where Michael Biehn does his spinny gun time, and it's fucking glorious. I love it. I watch that scene all of the time. But then she did one for the girls.
Guess
what the next one might be?
What year?
Oh, I don't know what year, actually. I want to say 93. It's a film you talk about a lot. It's a film you've made me watch in the past, and it's a film that you're threatening to put on one of our lineups, and I'm not going to say which one.
93?
I think it's 93.
One for the girls?
One for the girls.
Oh, I don't know. I'm threatening to put it in the lineup.
Yeah.
Give me a clue. That could be anything.
A clue. All right. Maybe Ice-T is a kangaroo human.
Oh, Tank Girl. Oh my God.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think it was 95.
Was it 95? That makes sense. But yeah, when I saw Freaked and Tango in her lineup, I thought, well, I've got to mention this.
Yeah. Holy shit.
And then
that film's terrible, and I love it.
I know you do. It's terrible, and I've seen it. The next movie she did, I didn't even know this film was by Richard Linklater, but it's called The Newton Boys. One for the boys, one for the girls, one for the boys.
Matthew McConaughey was in it. I remember that much.
I remember the poster, and they've just got like waistcoats on or whatever. With
there's like they're just stood up, and it's very black and white, and then there's like some red writing maybe.
Yeah, The Newton Boys. Yeah,
for the boys.
One for the boys. I haven't seen that, and it's one of those. Really, that's Richard Linklater, is it?
Yeah, it feels pretty out of left field for him. But then so does School of Rock.
Yeah, Schneebly.
I always forget that that's him as well.
Ned Schneebly.
Yeah.
Yeah, I forget that too. And then she did another one for the boys after that, David O. Russell movie.
Oh no.
Yeah, I know, unfortunately. But Three Kings. Kings.
Okay.
So worked with some really talented directors and
David O. Russell.
Yeah. This is the first Kip Pardue movie we've covered.
Oh yeah. Oh God, yeah. I forgot about that scene. You had to bring that up, didn't you?
Yeah. And it's tricky because I really like Kip Pardue. I think he's very good in Driven.
Nobody's good in Driven.
Jimmy Bly. He does a bit where he has to jump on his foot to pretend that his foot doesn't hurt, so he can drive the fast cars. It's God! It's an underrated movie. Yeah. Anyway, we sort of were wrapping up talking about the film. We got back into,
and then you went on a little tangent all on your own.
We can go back into the movie if you like, or we can wrap it up here.
Let's wrap it up because I want to start thinking about next week.
All right. So what have we got coming up then for the penultimate episode in our coming of age season?
So unsurprisingly, it's another first time watch for you. We're covering Shane Meadows' This Is England.
Oh, an uplifting one then.
Yeah.
Oh, cool. Cool.
This week we're doing I was going to say we're doing another grim sort of bleak movie.
Oh, you were going to say that because we are.
Well, half of it is joyful.
Yeah, it's definitely a movie of two halves, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It has been quite a hard-going lineup this season, I realise.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. Yeah. I didn't intend for it to be so punishing. But this was a first-time watch for you, wasn't it?
It was a first-time watch for me, and it wasn't for you.
No, I've seen this a bunch.
A bunch?
A bunch of times.
A handful or a bunch? What's the difference?
A bunch could be... Well, a bunch is generally used to refer to flowers or bananas.
Yeah, so there are 5 bananas on a bunch of bananas.
Are there? Is a bunch of bananas exactly 5?
Yeah.
You're wearing glasses, so I trust you.
25% more chance that that's correct.
First, I'm curious as to why you put off watching this.
I generally try to avoid drama, and I definitely try to avoid British drama.
Do you?
Yeah.
What is it about drama specifically and the subset of British drama that you don't get on with?
It's tricky. I think when I sit down and I commit to watching them, often I will probably enjoy them, or if there's a
Yeah.
good one or whatever. But I'm less likely to take a chance on a drama, and specifically British drama. I find it all a little bit, sometimes a bit too real. Like,
Yeah.
I recognise, and it's true with this film. Like, I grew up obviously in England, not in the north where this is set, but there's certain things that you recognise, and it just makes it that more real as an experience.
So you prefer your cinema to be pure escapism?
Yeah, I guess so. But like, I don't mind a social message or a lesson or like a good character arc. Like, I do like that stuff. I don't know. I have to be sort of a bit removed from it, but it has to connect with me in other ways. I don't know. It's weird. I'm a hypocrite as well, like, because I'll watch something else and it'll be a drama. I'll be like, I love that.
Yeah.
But I don't know. Yeah,
Like Moonlight.
yeah, exactly.
In very recent memory.
Exactly. I don't know, just all a bit grey, a bit grim, a bit English, a bit recognisable. Like,
Okay.
Sort of people that are speaking language that you recognise, and
Well, somewhat.
well, yeah. I was going to ask and request to put the subtitles on this, but
Did you?
yeah, I did at one point. But I watched it again with the commentary, so
I'm amazed I've not slipped back into pure northern accent for this.
Right, love.
Oh, don't you dare. Hey up, Chuck. Put one in Thor. Were you born in a barn?
I love that one. That's my favourite northernism, I think.
Was it?
Yeah. That just means, why haven't you closed the door?
Yeah. Put one in Thor. Yeah, just shut the door. A phrase that was commonly uttered in my household growing up was my dad saying that it looked like Blackpool bloody illuminations near. Big lights are on in every room.
You've left the light on.
Yeah.
You do like to leave lights on.
I do. It didn't work. All of that bluff and bluster
I know.
didn't even work.
You probably are still protesting now. That's what it's all about. You'll leave a light on, you're like, fuck you, Dad.
Yeah, it's just oppositional
Every
defiance.
time. You think, oh, I'm going to switch that off, and your dad pops in, you go, fuck off.
Yeah.
I'm not doing that. I'm going to rebel.
Yeah.
Because we're
Because
always...
at 42, I'm so rebellious.
But we're always still that child.
Well,
In
I
many
guess
ways.
so. Speaking of children, coming of age.
Yeah.
There we go.
One thing that McClure said is that her and Gilgan had gone out in character to a travel agent to try and book a holiday,
Okay.
but like it didn't work. That like they couldn't book the holiday for whatever reason. They ended up going to the pub and getting pissed, and they came back and they were like, "Oh, Shane's going to be annoyed with us or whatever." But apparently, like he was like, "No, that's what your characters probably would have done."
I love that.
Yeah. So it's just. It seems like Meadows creates this kind of environment for these people to just kind of thrive and explore their characters as much as possible, and then cameras roll. But he does have a script because people at studios want to see the script and things like
of
that,
course.
but rarely sort of turns out the same as it is on paper, if at all, probably. But I think this is the second Shane Meadows movie I think I've seen.
The second. The first one
Yes.
being...
Dead Man's Shoes.
Oh, of course. What a film.
Definitely worth a rewatch, I think.
Yeah. Maybe we can fit that into a revenge theme somewhere down the line. You've not seen any of his other work then?
I don't think I have, no.
Okay.
There's a film that Andrew Shim was in called A Room for Romeo Brass.
Yes, that's on my shelf.
Oh, you have it?
I do.
Oh, I wish we'd had time to watch it.
Sorry.
Shall we go and watch it now and come back later?
No,
Okay.
we're committed. And of course, This Is England was so successful that it spawned 3 different miniseries.
Is it 3?
Well, yeah, because the movie takes place in 83, I want to say.
Yeah, yep.
And then the miniseries are 86, 88 and 90.
Right.
And they were just like a couple of years apart, I believe.
Mm.
So yeah, that's it. That's the end of episode 7 of 8 of Coming of Age. We've got one more to go. And you'll be so pleased. You'll be so pleased that I'm going to take it easy on you. And we're going to go a little bit lighter. I'm going to do Cameron Crowe's Almost Famous.
Oh, final episode.
Yeah. Can't wait.
Big cast in this.
Yeah.
Huge cast. I'm gonna run down them. So
okay.
we've got Patrick Fugit.
Sure.
Or Fuggit. Patrick Fugit as William Miller. Kate Hudson as Penny Lane.
Yep.
PSH, Lester Bangs. Francis McDormand. Elaine,
Brilliant.
Billy Crudup. Jason Lee. Noah Taylor.
Mm-hmm.
Zoe Deschanel. Is it Zoe or Zoe?
Zoe.
Zoe Deschanel. Anna Paquin.
Yep.
Feruza Balk.
Yeah.
And then we got some cameos.
Mm-hmm.
I've written down 4 cameos that I was very surprised by. Rainn Wilson.
Yep.
Who was not Rainn Wilson then.
Oh.
He was still he was Rainn Wilson, but he wasn't.
Oh, he wasn't
Dwight
Rainn
Schrute
Wilson,
yet.
right?
Yeah.
I get you.
I've written down Jimmy Kimmel, but I'm sure
Jimmy
it's
Fallon.
Jimmy Flannel.
Fallon. Jimmy Flannel.
Yeah.
That's what he's named now.
I always get those two mixed up.
What, Jimmy Fallon and Jimmy Flannel?
Yeah. They're both late night hosts, aren't they? And I always get them confused. Mark Maron is in this movie.
Yeah, I always forget.
And I did not know until this movie, until this viewing actually, that the voiceover he has at the start of his podcast,
Lock the gates.
That's from this movie. I had no
Yeah.
idea. And it's very funny. It's one of the funniest moments in the movie, actually. And a very young, very teenage boy looking Jay Baruchel.
Oh my God, tiny Jay Baruchel.
Yeah.
Brilliantly brought to life by PSH, though. I
He
mean,
was
when did
great.
he ever give anything less than 100%?
Yeah. I mean, he's not quite as good as he was in Twister. I'll say that.
Or as Jock number 2 in My Boyfriend's Back? That's a deep cut.
That is really deep. I've not even heard of that. Obviously, I joke. I like him in Twister. Better in this.
Do you know what? This year I came round to Twister. I admitted it on the mini-sode, and I'm not ashamed to say it, but the eclectic cast make that movie, and he's such a standout. So
Yeah.
joke as much as you want, but he is genuinely really fun in that film.
Yeah.
He was always brilliant.
I totally agree. I think he was always great. He's really good in Mission Impossible 3. He's done a bunch of stuff that I haven't seen. Like, is that movie Capote? I haven't seen that.
Capote.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Not seen that. It doesn't seem like it's my sort of flavour, so I've sort of skipped it.
Magnolia.
Magnolia, he's in that.
Well, he worked with PTA a few times.
Yeah.
He was kind of what Leo is to Scorsese.
Right, okay. Yeah.
I
Okay.
suppose.
Yeah, I'm just looking at what the films of PSHs that I've written down, and it's only Twister.
The Master. Come
Oh, yeah.
on.
Oh, yeah, where he's definitely not playing L. Ron Hubbard.
Yeah, exactly.
It's not about Scientology, that movie. I love that.
Sign what? I've never heard of it.
Yeah, that's great. I love that. I love that. Season 9 is back to me.
Yeah.
I'm choosing a theme. Something a bit different for this season.
Uh-oh.
I've chosen an actor.
Oh, no.
I'm giving everyone a little moment to just try and figure out what actor it might be. Who's going to guess?
Is
right?
it Jean-Claude Van Damme?
Can you imagine if it was Jean-Claude Van Damme? I could do that.
Yeah,
Genuinely.
I know you could.
Yeah.
Just hard target 8 times.
I wonder if anyone's guessed. If you guessed, let me know. But 3, 2, 1, Nicolas Cage. It has to be, right? The first actor season we're doing.
Coming of Cage.
Coming of Cage. I love it. There you go. That's what it's called. From coming of age to coming of cage.